of course, it plays into their stupid victim narrative of, we're not allowed to say anything, and the left is evil, and they won't let us be ourselves. So, actually, you know what?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. It should be fun. Okay, let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTv. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues, both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, today we have a little bit of a philosophical debate on our hands, if you will, a strategic debate on our hands. I had the privilege of watching Soy Pill here's latest video. Charlie Kirk was racist, Charlie racist in peace, something like that, right? You should check it out. It's not too long. It's worth watching. He made a comment near the end that I took a little bit of umbrage with, and I wanted to talk to him about it and discuss it with him. And the comment you made was about Ezra Klein's um, op-ed piece right after Charlie Kirk died and some of the things that were said in there. Can you just, for the audience, tell people kind of what you said in the video, kind of like TLDR for it, so I don't
Yes.
misrepresent it?
So basically, Ezra Klein wrote a piece in op-ed that said Charlie Kirk did politics the right way. Was so disgusted by the political violence. Obviously, I think political violence is bad. We can both agree on that. Me and you were, hamming on Destiny, and he called both of us opticucks for the same thing. But the implication that Charlie Kirk in any way was doing it the right way, when Charlie, like many pundits, especially right-wing pundits, are these obfuscating, lying, clip farming propagandist, is ridiculous to me, because I don't think he deserves brownie points just for not being violent. Obviously, that's good, but that's the bare minimum, and I don't think he did politics the right way. I think he did it in ways that are very scummy and very bad. And then when you get to the idea of what were his ideas and why would people be happy about the fact that he's not alive anymore, I think that you shouldn't endorse political violence. But if you want to celebrate that Charlie Kirk is no longer doing Charlie Kirk things, I think that's perfectly acceptable, and I'm not going to shame anyone who does it.
And this is where we had the major disagreement. So we do have a minor disagreement on, I guess, whether or not Ezra Klein was correct in putting out the op-ed piece he did in the context of the time that we were having. But I will get to that later. Um, I wanted to talk to you about celebrating death and being happy when someone else dies or suffers some kind of misfortune or stumbles or what have you. Um, I guess I have two contentions here. Um, and you can decide which we talk about first. And I think both of them are interesting. And I think they're semi-related, but we'll get into it. The first contention I would have with this is that I think it makes you less good of a person when you start to celebrate the death or the misfortune of your enemies. I think it lowers your ability to empathize with others. It helps to dehumanize others. And I think it,
Oh,
again,
yeah.
it's not the hugest deal in the world, but
Thanks for
it does
joining,
make
Nicole.
you a bit of a worse person. That's my first contention. On a moral aspect, from a moral level, on a philosophical level, I think it is bad to be happy when something bad happens to someone you dislike or you hate, even if they are a bad person objectively. Even Hitler, right? Even Osama bin Laden. Okay, I'm serious. I'm
No, I'm
serious.
glad you're giving these examples, because this is the first thing I want to talk about. The idea
Yeah.
that somehow this is morally reprehensible to celebrate the death of an enemy. And I was going to go through a spectrum of things, because Charlie Kirk, I think, is way more near the middle, near the fence. And I think there's
How
good
many
arguments.
Hitlers is he on a scale of
Exactly
like,
right.
like
But
0.2 Hitlers, 0.5
well, I
Hitlers?
was
What
going
are
to
we
start
talking?
at the extreme, right? So you think it's bad for people to celebrate Hitler dying?
I think it makes you it's immoral to celebrate the death of Hitler.
Okay,
Yes,
what
if
makes
you
it
were,
immoral to celebrate Hitler's death? All right, Wick, you see a Jew has just been liberated out of a concentration camp in Auschwitz, and someone lets them know, by the way, also Hitler just died, and you would go up and wag your finger and say, "How dare you?"
I don't think it would be moral to scold them at that point in time, given the thing that they just suffered. But I do think that it would be better for them if they, instead of celebrating the death of their enemy, celebrated the fact that they were free from oppression. And there is a difference here, and I want to
Well, wait, what if?
hone in on this difference.
Well,
There is a
is there a
difference
difference if
from
their oppression ends because their enemy dies?
it's what you celebrate that matters, right? If what you're celebrating is like, "Oh, yes, I'm finally free. I don't have to worry about being put in concentration camps, at least not for a few years until Nicholas Fuentes comes back into the scene, and then maybe we have a problem again." But, right? I think there's a difference between that and someone going like, "Yeah, that fucking guy, I hope he suffered. I hope he was like, I hope he's burning in hell right now." I think that there is a substantive difference between celebrating these two things. Do you understand what I'm getting at
I
here?
understand what you think. I fundamentally disagree. I don't think you can somehow separate the idea that the person who is making your life abhorrent and torturous dying isn't good, or you shouldn't be celebrating it, even though the thing that they did was bad, because a person is absolutely connected to the actions that they take. And if dying is the way you stop those actions, then you can absolutely celebrate that. There's nothing wrong with that, especially in the case of Hitler. Obviously, there are cases, there's a spectrum to this, and you and I would agree, like, hey, I have a teacher who's mean to me, and they died. Yeah, that would be pretty, I think, maybe bad for your character to celebrate the fact that, well, your teacher isn't super nice to you, but like you shouldn't want them to be dead. That's like a very extreme thing. But the fact that you wouldn't even do it for Hitler, that you would scold, I mean, obviously you understand it would not be the time or the place to scold them post liberation, but the idea that they're somehow at all morally a moral failing on the character of a Jewish person celebrating the end of the Holocaust because they killed Hitler is so ridiculous. Like I want to call you an optics cuck. Like how, like what is
You
what
can
is
call
wrong
me
with
that
that?
if you like, but you'd be wrong.
What's wrong with it?
And
What is wrong? What is the moral stain of celebrating Hitler's death?
hate, as well as empathy, are habits. They are habits, they are skills in a sense, right? The more we do it, the more likely it is we are to do it in the future.
You only have to
And when
celebrate
we
Hitler's death
stop
one
doing it,
time,
let me
Wick.
finish, right? When we stop doing it, right? Or when we turn off our empathy for someone simply because they're a bad person, it makes it harder to start up again. It's a habit and it's habit forming. And when you begin down that path of even justifiably in your mind hating someone who died enough to celebrate their death, it really it makes it easier to do it. It desensitizes you.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying is like this slippery slope argument, and I don't even necessarily disagree. I don't think it's 100% fallacious, but you're ignoring the idea that there are ever criteria where it makes perfect sense to celebrate someone's death. Like, in again, we picked the extreme case. I can't believe you're defending this one, which is Hitler, versus like, yeah, if you start to celebrate any person who's negatively affected you's death, like every time, like this is kind of like that Black Mirror episode where it's like, okay, someone says something mean to you at a coffee shop, bam, 1 star out of 5. Suddenly they're a pariah. Their life is ruined. It causes this weird like social animosity where everyone's always at each other's throats. Everyone just wants everyone else to always be positive to them. I understand that, but that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about someone living in abject, destitute misery, their family being slaughtered, and the end to that, celebrating the end to that, which can only come in certain cases from the death of the person doing it, and that somehow being a path towards normalizing it. Well, I don't think that celebrating Hitler is going to lead you to celebrating if you're like mean teacher got hit by a car. So this is why it's like ridiculous to me that you can't somehow separate these two things, one being the extreme case of someone doing something awful, abjectly awful to you, just one of the worst things a human being can do to someone, and being like, thank God that fuck is dead, and then saying, well, this might lead to people celebrating deaths that I'm not okay with. I don't get it. I don't know where you're coming from. I genuinely don't see how these things can't be a dichotomy in your brain.
Because I don't think you can disconnect these things. Humans don't really disconnect these things. And doing it once makes it more likely you will do it again and again. And this works both for the hatred and also the empathy, right? And I think it's a very, again, um, slippery slope, but it's not fallacious, right? It's actually slippery. And I started at the high end. And look, I'll be real with you. The chances of it going further for a lot of people aren't very high. But the fact that the chance is there and not celebrating it costs you nothing. You lose nothing. Like nothing is lost if you decide to take the better route. And in fact, you do gain something by taking what I would consider the better route. You exercise your empathy. If you are able to empathize with Hitler, you're going to be able to empathize with pretty much anyone,
I
right?
can
You're going to
empathize
be able to
insofar as
empathize
us
with
Jews
the
can be
immigrant,
pretty
the
annoying.
poor, all these people. What did you say? I
I
didn't
said
hear
I
you.
can empathize insofar as us Jews can be pretty annoying, but again, now this is
True.
curious to me. This idea of empathy. Actually, I just had a super chat mention this, and I was thinking the same thing. What about the empathy for the victims of the fucking Holocaust, Wick? What if I am celebrating the end of the Holocaust, which could only in some ways come from the death of Hitler, and say, thank God, I love that all those people that I care about are now not suffering anymore. Isn't that like
That's not suffering
unfathomably
death.
more empathy for the victims who are now like celebrating them getting released than I do for the guy who did all the torturous, awful human stuff, inhuman things?
So, first of all, I don't think that you can only have empathy for one or the other in these cases. And in fact, I think having empathy for one makes it easier for you and more likely that you're going to have empathy for the other. Again, it's a muscle. You exercise it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the more you exercise it, the stronger it grows. And again, I would argue that celebrating the fact that these people have been freed from the concentration camp is not the same thing as celebrating that Hitler died. These are
What if
very
Hitler
different things.
dying is the reason that the concentration camps were liberated? Or let me give you a more modern example. What if
Okay.
killing Putin would end the war in Ukraine?
Then Putin should die. I'm not a pacifist. I think that
Would you
people should
celebrate that Putin is dead?
no. I
Why
would
not?
celebrate that Ukraine is free.
What if Putin dying was the way that Ukraine is to be free, and you're celebrating the fact that Putin
Sometimes
died?
that's a necessary thing, but I don't think we should celebrate that the fact. Like, well, let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
If we had a cop, okay, and this
Okay.
cop, we recognize that laws have to be enforced. Bad people are out in the streets. We have to put them in prison. Sometimes a bad person has to be killed. Every time this soldier or this cop took someone in or arrested someone or killed a bad guy, even if they're like the worst of the worst, like the mini Hitlers of the world, okay, they got off sexually to it. They would publicly be like, "Yeah, I loved when I shot that guy in the back of the skull with the bullet," and they start like jerking it a little bit on the screen. What would you do? You think that person should be in that position? Like as a soldier, cop, executioner, or whatever, would you be comfortable with someone who gets sexually and derives sexual pleasure and celebration
It depends
after
on
they kill their enemies?
depends on if it makes them a more effective police officer. I mean, if I'm taking it seriously, if you had some sycophant that got off to the violence of being a police officer, the police officer's primary purpose is not to commit violence, it's to enforce the laws. And if they're seeking out violence, if they're seeking out that sort of sexual gratification, then yeah, I can see how that would be a problem because they're probably going to do a bad job. They're probably going to make judgment calls that will put them in more violent situations. And if this is at all analogous to a Jewish person celebrating the end of Hitler because somehow then they would be seeking out the death of more, I don't know, dictators or persecutors or Holocaust people, like people who like perpetuated it. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a problem nearly close to your analogy
You
where a
don't you
cop would
don't
seek out
see
more
how
violence.
it might become an issue if someone derives pleasure from the suffering of others that they consider bad. You don't see how that could end up creating s- this kind of perverse incentive where they would continue to seek
No,
suffering
I
of
just
others.
admitted, yes. If in your cop example, that's a perfect example of, yeah,
Yeah.
this could absolutely be bad, especially because this person has power over
Yeah.
society,
But I would
especially.
argue yeah, I would argue that this happens on a smaller scale
Can
too
you then
when we
show me an
celebrate the
example
death
of
of our
that?
enemies.
Show me an example of the people. Well, actually, I can think. Well, let's see if you do. The people who celebrated the death of Hitler, that mindset leading them to more hate and not happiness and gratification that their suffering is ending.
You don't think that the fact that some people celebrated the death of Hitler kind of messed them up emotionally, morally, anything like that? You don't think
No,
that that occurred at all
no,
in no instance?
not even a little bit. Well, here,
Not even a little bit.
let's say this. I celebrate the death of Hitler, or the death of Osama bin Laden. Do you think this has somehow made me a worse person? This has clouded my judgment, and it's going to lead me to more violence.
I think it makes you more likely to dehumanize other people in the future. Yes, I absolutely do.
Okay, so the option to
Well, do you think
potentially
that that's bad? Dehumanizing people, can we agree
dehumanizing
on this?
people who don't deserve
Dehumanizing
it is
people in
bad.
general, as a rule, shouldn't do it. It's bad.
Sure. I wouldn't even.
Okay.
In fact, even for Nazis, I think dehumanizing Nazis is bad. Not because they don't deserve some sort of vitriol and bad treatment, but because when you dehumanize Nazis, the implication is that they're somehow this superhuman, monstrous like abnormality that pops out of nowhere, and not real people like me and you that are led into dangerous ideologies. I think that's the danger of dehumanization in any case. But yeah, and it lets you perpetuate violence against people who may or may not deserve it. But the idea that because I might demonize Osama bin Laden, who is like a mass murderer and perpetuated evil around the world, is going to make me more likely to demonize someone who doesn't deserve it. Maybe, but somehow that's bad. That's worse than not being able to celebrate, like, oh, thank God my fucking killer is dead. Thank God the family of mine in New York that got exploded is finally feeling vengeance against a terrorist. And that's why, like, I'm glad you're picking the extreme examples here, because I was going to fight you on, like, okay, what about Donald Trump? What about Charlie Kirk? What about like Nick Fuentes? What about these pundits that maybe are causing misery, that maybe are spreading evil ideas, but like ultimately like they themselves aren't like causing direct harm to you? Maybe the president obviously is different, but like especially the pundits aren't doing this. So like the Charlie Kirk is like this, I think an edge case. It could go either way. But the fact that like you're not allowed to celebrate any single person dying is insane. Like obviously there are plenty of ways that this could go poorly, but you're weighing the moral implication of celebrating the death of someone doing one of the worst things in the world versus, well, maybe in the future you might dehumanize someone else, so therefore you shouldn't do it. Like, what are we supposed to do on V-Day? Just be like, all right, everyone, like the war's over, but it's too bad about the Hitler guy. I wish we'd have caught him alive and he could have lived a good old life.
Well,
What?
which society would you rather live in? The one where they celebrate the deaths of their enemies, take trophies, hang them high from the rafters, right? Put them on the walls, have a grand old time, or the one that, again, removes their enemies, but they don't take any joy in it. They do it as a matter because it needs to be done, like taking out the trash. It's not fun. It's not exciting. You shouldn't be like, yeah, I'm taking out the trash, but you need to do it.
In your hypothetical dichotomy, I choose the more empathetic one, but I don't think that America is taking Hitler's scalp and pinning it on the wall as a trophy. They're like, we fucking got him, boys, although he got him, so we didn't get him. But the idea that, like, yeah, thank God we fucking killed that piece of shit is not somehow so, like, the stain on society. It's not some horrible thing where it's like, oh God, we're disgusting because we celebrated the death of one of the worst human beings in the world.
Again, I'm taking the extreme examples because I think that it illustrates the point. Let's use Osama bin Laden, right? You brought him up.
Sure.
Do you think that the people in America have used the hatred that, and you may even feel this is justified, that people feel towards Osama bin Laden? Do you think that has our politicians have used that to maybe put forth legislation or enact policies or executive orders that have led to bad outcomes for Americans?
Yeah, but
And
that
the
happened
politicians
before
have used that
Osama bin
celebration, the
Laden
fact that you
died.
have hated this person, as fuel and permission
Yeah,
to do these things.
I think you're making a huge leap here, because what if you're
Oh,
implying that the war on terror and the Patriot Act and all of the draconian things that came out of the Bush administration were because of hatred for Osama bin Laden? It wasn't, one, it was not celebration of his death because he wasn't dead yet. That didn't happen until Obama. Two, it wasn't hatred for Osama. It was fear of terrorism after one of the worst terror attacks in human history or in American history. So this idea that, like, oh, hatred for Osama caused all those horrible policies, no, it was fear of terrorism, which was an overblown thing that also was perpetuated by a lie from the Bush administration and Colin Powell and all that. But that does not mean that hating him was what led to that. It's not even, I don't know how you would connect those two things.
oh, you don't know how you would connect people being willing to put up with having less less groceries, less civil rights because they hate their enemies more than they love themselves. You
It
don't
wasn't
see
about
any kind of
hatred.
modern examples of this happening
People,
currently today, right
the
now in our political climate.
if I'm to project what I would imagine the Wick ideal government into 2001 post 9/11, it would not be, well, we don't hate them so we won't do draconian laws. Everyone would still be scared of the next terror attack. They would say, well, I understand why he did it and it sucks. Maybe he had his reasons and we have to stop him, and it's maybe hopefully
You
we can
don't have to
capture
like
him,
the
but
guy.
we got to get after him and make sure he can't do it again. Not, oh, well, I don't hate him, so I won't do anything to prevent this from happening again. I won't be fear baited into passing, TSA laws and all that. That's going to happen anyway. That doesn't happen because you're celebrating the fact that he's dead. That doesn't happen because you hate him for killing Americans. This is like completely untied.
I don't think it's untied. I think it's very tied together. It's very connected. I think that we're currently seeing in our public discourse, in our politics, people who are so hateful towards the libs that they're willing to own nothing as long as they can own the libs.
Yeah, but
They are willing to own nothing
that was
as long
before
as they're
any
willing to own the
political
libs. And this is not
violence.
this is new. And it's not something that came overnight. This has been step by step by step by step by step on this moral ladder of people excusing, celebrating, right? The death or harm to their enemies and taking pleasure in that. So much so that they are willing to sacrifice their freedoms, their prosperity, everything. If all it takes, they just want to own the libs one more time. It's addicting. It's
Yeah,
an
but
addicting thing.
owning the libs and hating your enemies in the way that MAGA does, that has been perpetuated from the Tea Party, all like the Bush admin, all the way up till now, is not the same as celebrating the death of your opponent. Even MAGA, to an extent, didn't celebrate Jimmy Carter dying. I bet if Joe Biden died, there'd be some people celebrating. I bet most MAGA politicians would not be out there cheering that Joe Biden died. I really don't. I think there'd be a
Well,
good chunk of it, but the idea that
that's the
like this
strategic
hate
thing, but
and
we're
this
talking about
owning,
the moral thing. We'll get to the
well, sure,
strategic
but
thing in a
but
second.
what I'm saying to you is some of them might be happy that the guy they think is evil is dead, and maybe they'd celebrate it more behind closed doors. But these people wouldn't be out there being like, "Oh, good, like this guy was basically Hitler." And so like this now you're trying to tie like MAGA own the libs ideology, which we both agree is bad, to somehow this is downstream of people celebrating the deaths of their opponents, which has been happening for hundreds of years, far beyond like American existence. Like,
But
I,
there's hold on. Yes, it has always been with us, but we have had philosophies, religions, etc., books, stories, fables, all of which warn people against celebrating their enemies. I mean, look, it's in Proverbs, right? You can like what's that? Hold on. Let me get the quote. Celebrate not the misfortune of others, lest you begin to seek it. Do not gloat when your enemies fall, right? This is something that we have been taught by our philosophies, not just Christianity, not just Judaism, but it's there in Buddhism and all these other philosophies because we recognize what what we turn into, what happens to society when this becomes a thing, when people start celebrating the death of their
well,
enemies.
you
It's
keep saying when people
addicting. It's an
start.
addictive substance. It's like meth.
The problem is, what I'm saying is, I can't believe you don't agree with this. That there are certain circumstances in which the celebration is tied directly to the cessation of the bad thing. So when it's Charlie Kirk, it's just ideas. So people celebrating this, like I said, are on the fence. When it's Hitler, or Putin, it's the cessation of war. It's a cessation of millions of people potentially dying. And so this idea that doing that, which has always existed, like you said, when we start that poisons society, and not this is the exception that we make of, yeah, when this happens, we
When you
can do
trick,
it. Now,
I'm
well, hold
not
on.
saying people who celebrate the end of war are bad.
But you're
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
that's
saying
because you're
people who
able
celebrate
that's
Putin
because
dying is
that's
bad.
because you're separating the death of figures and the end of war, when this is clearly the ways that things could happen. Let me give you a complete hypothetical. It's not war, all right? Let's say you had a rapist, okay? Every day they're like, Wick, 3 o'clock, it's raping time. They rape you, Wick, all right? All right. Now they say, hey, if I ever get caught and I go to jail, as soon as I get out, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna rape you again, Wick. It's 3 p.m. It's raping time. Okay. And then this isn't going to end, and then they die. You are now not allowed to celebrate the fact that there is no 3 p.m. Wick rape time anymore. Because why? Because
Hold on. Again, I can celebrate there's no 3 p.m. Wick rape time
but
anymore.
that only ceased.
But I cannot
that
celebrate.
only ceased because
when I
he's
say
dead.
cannot,
Wick.
I said should not. Well, I should not celebrate the fact that someone else died.
The fact
$10 from Sarcastic Warlock says, you are in a sewer talking nonsense about heroes. Why not debate a real hard right man? You want to attach it to Fuentes or some other clown at a bullfight? Engage with the true mythic man or shut the fuck up. I don't know what you mean by that.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know why you're real hard right now, but that's crazy.
Yep, Wick, you were trying to detach the fact, the reason I posed this hypothetical, although it is funny, is the idea that you could only stop this thing if they're dead. Locking them up will only prolong it.
I think
running away, they're going to find you.
Remove an obstacle, yes.
Right, and you can celebrate removing that obstacle, right?
Again, no. You can celebrate that no longer you will live under the threat of rapins, okay?
The only
but
reason
if you're like, I'm glad that bastard died, I hope he suffered.
Yeah, well, hold on. You're attaching that extra part of the end. I hope he suffered. You don't have to celebrate the fact that he was in pain. Maybe it was quick. Maybe you got him with a quick blow to the back of the head. You didn't see it coming. He didn't even know he was going to die. All right? Now that we know this person didn't suffer, you're not celebrating his pain. You're not celebrating torturing him. You're not celebrating any sort of psychological damage. You're saying, this ended because he died, and I'm happy about that. That's wrong because you're somehow able to semantically separate these ideas. I'm saying you can't separate these ideas. This man dying was the only reason the bad thing happened or stopped happening.
Okay, again, this is going to be the major disagreement we have. I think that you should, and in fact, it is necessary to separate these things because if you don't, if you keep tying them together, right, it creates a permission structure for people. Because why shouldn't you just celebrate the death of Trump? Let's use Trump as an example. Why shouldn't you just? Why should you only celebrate his death? Why not celebrate the politicians who supported him's death? Because they going away makes him less powerful and less able to do his things, right? Why shouldn't you celebrate that? Why shouldn't you celebrate the voters who voted for him dying?
Let's take a step back. Would you celebrate Trump losing the election?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you obviously are okay with the idea of people are happy that Trump isn't doing Trump stuff anymore. That's apparent, self-evident, obviously, right? I'm not trying. This isn't a gotcha. So I'm trying to pose to you that there are cases in which a bad thing can only stop with someone's death, and somehow you're always supposed to feel bad about the death part, even if the only way the bad thing could cease is that person's death.
You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel anything at all.
You just can't be happy.
I am not asking you, even though perhaps, and that might be another thing that I would have to think about further, whether or not you should feel some empathy or sympathy for the guy, right? But my argument today, right? My argument tonight is that you shouldn't feel happy about someone else dying. Because again,
every celebration of the ending, if it was intrinsically tied to the death, every single time that happens, you should have a little voice in the back of your head to be like, hey, I know you're happy, all the bad things are stopping, but be careful. And
yes, I think that if everyone had that voice, the world would be a better place.
Okay. I can agree with you that if you had people checking themselves...
You agree with that premise, right? That if everyone behaved like me, it would be better than if everyone behaved the way you want to behave.
No, I think you would lead to this radical, empathetic danger where it's like, whoa, we can't be...
Radical, empathetic
Literally,
world.
this is
terrible.
Like
oh, no, not
like
a horrible...
a paradox of tolerance where it's like, well, shit, like, maybe I don't want to stop it with death, but sometimes death is the only way you can do it. And this is going to make me sound like this fucking right-winger, but this is reminding me of all their arguments where it's like, the people are like, oh, if someone breaks into your house and is trying to threaten your family, can't you shoot them in the leg, or can't you do something can't you do a humane trap so they can't get... No, you should blow them out of the fucking water with whatever means you can, and if they stop, and that was the only way to save your family, you can be happy about that. Fuck yeah, I just saved my fucking family. Sucks I had to kill a guy. I wish there was another way, but you know what? I'm happy he's not doing it anymore. And then you go and find out, wow, every night this guy broke into a new house and was doing this, and I stopped that? Fuck yeah, I got him. I'm celebrating the fact that I got him. And the fact that you couldn't possibly do that is insane to me.
But again, you're trying to tie these things together, and this is what you keep doing, that you can celebrate the fact that you stopped someone from doing something bad versus I'm glad he's dead. There's a difference here. $5 from
Yes.
Sarcastic Warlock to say, and he quotes, "Man does not strive for happiness, only the Englishman does that," from Friedrich Nietzsche. Fair enough. $5 from Zephyr Hash to say what Wick is saying is that some part of him will start to miss it. JK, I only mean to spread love even if you don't want it. Thank you for the $5.
I think this is we'll circle the drain on this, but we can leave it on this. Morally,
Sure.
you believe that you can always separate the cessation of bad things from death, no matter what the case is. And I am saying there are absolutely always, not even close to a majority, but a portion of things that are bad that are happening that can only cease with death. And just because you're not happy that you have to cause death to make those bad things cease, you are absolutely allowed to celebrate when they happen, and that's a death because the bad thing is ceasing. And you can be a little sad, like, yeah, I wish I didn't have to kill this person to make it end, but god damn it, I'm happy that it ended, and it was only happy, or could happen through their death, so I'm happy they're dead. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll just end with this. We are circling on this one. I want to get to the strategic portion of
Yeah, we can
the
talk about
issue.
object cucking. Just I'm
Yeah.
bringing this up. I can't show you, but this is Wick condemns every single one of these people in this photo reading the Hitler Dead newspaper and smiling. So on
It depends.
Veterans Day, Wick, no
It
less.
depends on why the Veterans Day was yesterday, first
Whatever.
of all.
Who gives a shit about it?
Oh yeah, whatever. The veterans don't fucking matter, right? But regardless, I think that hate is addicting. And the more you do it, and the more you're happy when harm befalls others, even no matter how justified you think it is that harm befell them, no matter how necessary you think it is that harm befell them.
Oh
When you
yeah.
get a dopamine rush, when
Thank
you
you, Rick or
start to
Gene. I can't
feel
read it out loud right now.
celebratory, when you start to throw a little party, even in your mind, that when these things happen, I think it makes you, it's addicting. You seek it out. You begin to seek out more of this. And if you can't find your hit when an evil person gets their comeuppance, you start to lower your bar just a little bit, right?
I want
And
you to bring
think this
Ukrainian
happens.
Anna
Well,
back
are you
on.
gonna let me?
I gotta
Oh, we're
interrupt and say I want you to bring Ukrainian Anna on and tell her that she would be a bad person for celebrating the death of the guy who's Shahid droning her every night for
I
like the
have
past
told her that. We have
years.
had this discussion on
What did
stream.
she say to
You can go
you?
watch. You can go watch. She didn't agree, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
I did. I absolutely did tell
It's a
her
lot
this.
easier for you to say we're not being shahided every night, right? Like,
I
oh,
don't believe
she's like just
that
bombs are
good
exploding all
things.
around her. Her friends and
Hold on.
family next door
I
dying, and
don't
it's like,
think that the
be careful
argument
of
that
the
it's
evil
hard to
in your
be a
heart,
good
Anna, that you
person.
fear.
Hold on. I don't think the argument is sometimes it's harder to be a good person is a convincing one. Yes, that's just true. I'll just grant you that. Sometimes it's very, very, very hard to do the right thing because you have every incentive in the world telling you not to do that thing, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
incentive in the world is telling you you should indulge yourself in the hate. You should indulge yourself in the celebration of your enemy's demise. But I would
Oh
argue, and
yeah.
as I have, that it makes you worse as a person. $10 from Sarcastic Warlock to say, thank you, Sarcastic Warlock. You were very generous today. Says, struggle is the father of all things. It is not by the principles of humanity that man lives or is able to preserve himself above the animal world, but solely by means of the most brutal struggle. Okay, let's get to the strategic element of it. I'm sure you've seen, let's start with Charlie Kirk here. I'm sure you've seen the memes, right? I'm sure you've seen the
I've
people.
never seen or made fun of Charlie Kirk.
No?
No, I've seen the Kirk. Everyone's Kirking it right now. Straight up Kirking it.
Straight up Kirk in it. Okay. Um, do you think that that is helping us politically?
Thank you again, Fox. Um, it depends. So I post Charlie Kirk moment weeks or two after, a week or two after, I said, "Fucking a, this is awful. They're validating their victim complex. They are going to use this to crack down on free speech. They're going to use this to take gun rights away from trans people." Now it's been what, 2 months, and I'm like, never mind. Everyone kind of forgot. I don't care because they were doing this 10 years ago, before any political assassinations. They were doing this for years. They've been demonizing us. They've been saying it's the radical, violent left. They're vermin. They're fascists. Every single bad thing that they ever said after Charlie Kirk, they were saying before. And maybe this pushed them a little bit to speed things up in terms of their crackdowns. But it seems to me that no matter what we did, they were going to do this anyway. They were going to find the worst of the worst of the worst. They're able to take the rhetoric from left-wing politicians, now excluding Jay Jones, who don't really say anything that fucking crazy, and they're able to paint it as if they're like the worst of the worst. They're the Hitlers of the world. So if they're able to do that, I don't give a fuck that someone is out there going, oh, ho, 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 neck, or whatever, you know, with their freedom shirt on. Whatever, dude. Like, yeah, this is the straw man of what they're pointing out, but they were going to do it anyway. So, optics-wise, I would have agreed with you 20 years ago. Now, I just don't care.
The issue is that we can see that it has helped them. It becomes harder and harder for people to draw lines between, and I think we should. Well, let me just ask you this. Do you think it's important that the average American voter see a stark difference between the right and the left?
Yes.
Yes. Do you think that when we begin to behave like the right does, that it makes it harder for the average voter to see the difference between the right and the left, even if it's just in small ways?
Because there's a right-wing propaganda machine that is going to portray us as the worst possible version of ourselves no matter what, taking one person at one protest or one tweet and saying, this is the whole left. So it didn't really matter. Now, I don't think that is a invitation for us to all become that way. I'm certainly not going to be out there celebrating political violence.
Why not? If it doesn't have any, if it doesn't make you a worse person, and it doesn't hurt politically, why not?
Because I think there is a mass of people that could make this way worse. For example, if every Democratic politician was celebrating this, I think that would be very bad. I think that would leave room for a lot of normies who aren't permanently online to then also feel as if it is okay for them. In the same way that Trump's rhetoric has led to the rise of a lot of right-wing movements, you could absolutely have this shift the other way. But when you say, oh, if one person did this here or here, is that really like hurting us optically? No, I really don't think so, because that was happening anyway. The degree to which they are punishing or portraying us as evil. I mean, I just saw this with the Charlie Kirk stuff. I was at this TPUSA thing in Berkeley. There was some protesters there. I think I saw a video of like one or two people getting in a scuffle. Maybe one person pushed a barrier. When I was there, nothing crazy was happening. The cops were literally, I didn't take photos of this, but you can kind of see it in my stream, sitting around on their fucking phones because it wasn't very dangerous. It was not violent. It was not a riot. What are all the headlines? What were they saying in the rally? The crazy left is trying to silence you. They're rioting. They're setting off fireworks. They want to murder you. They all want to make you into Charlie. They're going to do this anyway. Absolutely. 1000%. So no, I don't think a few people celebrating this is like, well, this is the end of like left-wing optics. I think spending time on this and like trying to scold that specific, you know, person who said something weird, it's just not worth it anymore. Like I was calling out Destiny like you were for his takes on this stuff right after the Charlie Kirk stuff, because I'm like, holy shit, I think this is going to get people killed. I think this might radicalize your base. Now I'm like, look, we just fucking killed it on Tuesday. It didn't fucking matter. Absolutely not. So you know what?
Hold on.
Whatever.
Hold on. Why do you think that we won on Tuesday? And first of all, you do recognize that all the people who condemned violence, who did it and didn't celebrate the Kirk stuff, they outperformed by 10 plus points. People like Jay Jones.
Jay Jones won, though.
But he, again, was 11 points behind Spanberger.
Okay.
And what was it, like 6, 7 points behind the lieutenant governor?
Okay. He still won.
He still won.
Mom Donnie barely won. He barely scraped by.
He won
the most anti-violence positivity campaign ever, and he barely scraped by. Right? Like it depends on what you say.
Again, that wasn't against MAGA. That was blue on blue. Right? That was him against Cuomo. Right, it's a different.
The right hasn't moved on.
Different calculation that have to be made there.
Well, then how can you judge the performance of all of these other races? Like you can't take into account like, well, hey, this is AG versus governor, and maybe this one has more visibility, or hey, like you can't say all of the underperformance is directly due to his like violent comments in these text messages.
What do you think it was due to?
It could be a million things. I actually don't know. I'm sure you could do an analysis on this, but there would have to be exit polls of people saying I voted for Spanberger, but not Jay Jones, because
juxtapose.
can you show me? I mean, I know you don't have this offhand,
I
but
don't
like,
have it up, right?
could you bring up something that's like, hey, the reason he underperformed was because of his comments, or is it similar to other AG races? But ultimately, like, it doesn't seem to matter all that much for the if the average like 1 in a million fucking leftist says something fucking crazy, because they're gonna blow it up anyway. I agree that politicians shouldn't be doing this. In an ideal world, that you and I agree, Jay Jones should not be elected saying that kind of shit. But ultimately, it does not seem like it's hurting our electoral chances. So optically, like, the optics argument, I think is completely lost after Tuesday.
I disagree. I think Tuesday showed that optics matter. If it wasn't such a blue wave, right? Spanberger still would have pulled it out. If we were in a D+1 environment or an R+1 environment, Spanberger still would have won. Jay Jones would not have. And that is the difference, right? In a different environment, when we
Wait,
aren't
why wouldn't
looking
he
at
have?
Trump doing all these crazy shits and things like that, and we have a more normal opponent, right? It absolutely is going to matter, right? Who is more optics minded than the other.
Hey,
And I think
Ryan, thanks for
Tuesday
joining.
demonstrated that. We could see it was measurable. It was measurable. We saw the people who didn't engage in that rhetoric do very well, and we saw the people who did do much worse. I think that blows the optics don't matter argument out of the
Wait,
water.
hold on. Maybe we can agree on this. Optics
Okay.
matter in normal environments. If you have two equally good candidates and one of them is endorsing political violence, that's going to be horrible optics. They will perform worse, 1000%. We agree on this. In the environment that we are in now, against the Trump sycophantry and the MAGA movement, I don't think optics matter, because no matter what, the right wing machine is going to paint you as the worst possible version. They're going to say that you, like, if the right wing machine can come out and say every Democrat is the party of pedophiles, they are coming for your children, and then you think that somehow amplifying a guy who made fun of a Charlie Kirk meme or made fun of his death is going to shift a right-wing person who is on board with the Democrats are pedophiles messaging. I don't think that matters. In a normal primary, it matters, versus two normal candidates. In a general election versus a normal Republican, it absolutely matters. Right now, it does not matter a single fucking bit, I don't think. Not enough for,
$10.
not even close.
$10 from a sarcastic warlock to say, Wick, you're desperate to pretend we don't exist and join us to a facade of the right. Yet we are here. Your hate may go harsh, but our love for our people endures. We love you, but stop betraying us. Warlock, look,
Who's us?
we'll
What's he
talk later,
talking
Warlock.
about?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't. I do not understand where you're coming from. But thanks for the money, buddy. Um,
What is he? Yeah, like, who's us? Is he like a groper?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Um, I've never seen him in my chat before. He's I don't know, but he knows me apparently. But
Okay.
here's the deal. I think that even in this environment, I'll give you that I think that Trump is destroying this country so hard and so brazenly that we could nominate Destiny and all his comments, and I think he'd still eke it out. Okay. I think we could nominate me for all, I would think we could nominate you and we would still eke it out. I think it doesn't matter who we nominate, that in this environment, it's going so poorly for the Republicans that the Democrats are just kind of destined to win. But we have to start thinking about, okay, well, what's next? What kind of world do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a world where we're governed by people like Jay Jones? Right? I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I want to live in a world where we're governed by people more like Spanberger.
Sure.
Um, and I think that it absolutely, when, especially leaders, okay, especially our politicians, um, they are examples and they create permission structure for their party. Look at Trump. Trump, being as bad as he is and as rhetorically abhorrent as he is, has created a permission structure for the worst of the worst on the right to
Mm-hmm.
rise to prominence, to gain power, to normalize all these kinds of not only violent rhetoric, right, but hateful rhetoric and things like that. I think we can agree on this, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, when our politicians start to celebrate the death of our enemies, cheer it on, say things like Jay Jones does, I think it also normalizes that for us, and I
Yeah,
don't think that's going to
but
be
that's not
good.
happening yet.
It's not happening. What do you mean it's not
Even
happening?
Jay Jones wasn't celebrating the deaths of other people. He was saying, if you read the text messages themselves, which again I disagree with, in the same way you do, but it seems like maybe you've
Yeah,
misinterpreted it. He was
we've
saying
already procleared on that. We're
maybe
good.
they should suffer from their policies. Maybe her children need to die in her arms or something like that, right? It's not, oh, I'm so happy that my opponents died. Even our mainstream politicians aren't doing that.
I think it was close enough for government work, man. Like,
No, actually, if you want to say the real example, you can go back to the Saddam Hussein clip. Although this wasn't his death, where they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him," and everyone fucking celebrates fist bump because yeah, fucking fist bump moment. But like yeah, in the same way when we got Osama bin Laden, fuck yeah, we fucking got him. Like I don't care that he died in that scenario, and I care that we got the guy who is gonna keep perpetuating terrorism. Like it's insane to me that like yes, we can talk about our democratic politicians leading us into a slippery slope of normalizing people, dehumanizing people. But the idea that this now applies to the most extreme cases, we're back here. Like, is it optically bad to celebrate the death of Osama bin Laden? If anything, if you didn't celebrate, they might view you as weak and soft, and you might lose an election because they think you're not the hard person who's going to go out and take out our enemies, right?
so I think that celebrating the death of even someone like Osama bin Laden publicly, again, it showcases how little care we have for even our enemies. And I think that a country or a nation should, I think it is better for a country or nation to be seen as someone as a nation that values life rather than a nation that celebrates the death of their
Yeah,
enemies.
but you can
And
value
again,
life. You
celebrating
can
victory
value
versus
life by
celebrating death of
killing
enemies are not the
someone.
same.
You can value, hey, I saved a bunch of lives by killing Hitler. That's valuing life. That's saying, let's stop the Holocaust. That's saying, let's stop the war in Ukraine by killing the person perpetuating it.
We've
That
seen the
is a
results of
celebration
this,
of life.
man. I don't
What's the
know how you can
results?
say these things
Well,
when we've
here, you
seen the
keep saying we
results
see
of
the
what this
results.
has
What are the
done to us as a
results?
nation.
What has that done to us? Where are the
What has
negative
done to us
results?
as a nation? We are now celebrating throwing immigrants in jail because they might be Muslim.
Because we celebrated the death of Osama bin Laden, you
In
think that
part,
is why
yes.
that is
That is
even
not the main
close to
reason,
more than
but it
like
created a permission
half a
structure.
percent
It's a
of
again,
why ICE
hate is
is
a habit.
celebrated?
Hate is a habit.
Do
And
you
when we
think
indulge in it, it makes it easier to indulge in it further down the road.
you would, to change my mind on this, you would need to show me the people that celebrated the death of Osama bin Laden are the same people endorsing the ICE inhumane practices. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of the right wing who's celebrating ICE right now probably celebrated the death of Osama bin Laden, but tying these things directly, I think, is such a leap. I don't even know how you have these two ideas in your head. Like the dehumanization of people is bad, but celebrating Osama bin Laden is a big Venn diagram of like people who would be okay with doing that, and then like a little tiny overlap of people who want to celebrate like roughing up families and innocent people and throwing them out of the country and torturing them and throwing them in Guantanamo and throwing them in alligator Alcatraz. Like those are completely different things to be celebrating. And just because a bunch of people who would celebrate all those horrible things would celebrate the death of Osama does not mean that that's a downstream of that. Those people are just like dehumanizing immigrants and dehumanizing brown people. Like I don't know. I don't see how you can tie those two things together, but you can't separate the cessation of evil with the death of someone.
We're getting into the spiral again, but we'll go for it. We are. And this again, it's the crux of the issue. Can you
I'll
separate
call
these
him Big
things?
Dog
How
once at
much can you
least,
separate
Regicide.
these
Thank
things?
you.
Should they be separated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
And thank you, Fox,
I would
again.
argue that people, again, individuals and stuff, celebrating when someone dies that they view as evil or bad, even in the case of Osama bin Laden, it showcases, it's like a window into the soul of our nation. And it sets precedent and it sets a permission structure for how people are willing to behave. If you are if you see the leaders of your nation or people in prominent positions of power and influence being okay with celebrating the death of someone they consider an enemy, you again take it upon yourself. You're like, oh, I guess that's okay to do. And a lot of people have a lot of really fucked up ideas about who's their enemy and who's not. And if we had a different culture, because we do need to compare the
Is there a culture
differences.
that exists where this idea is kind of like seen out that you can show me, like where no one celebrates the death of their
Um,
worst enemies?
I can think of religious cultures and things like that where this is again, I would point to um actual Christianity. I would point to Buddhism. I would point to these things where yes, absolutely these things are frowned upon, and we look to empathize rather than hate. And I think that one of the falls of modern Christianity is they've decided to reject that particular teaching, and it's made them all the worse for it.
I guess if you're talking about, I guess I meant like a government because sure, well, there's plenty of religions that are pacifist, but like the idea that a government and its leaders are practicing this like hyper empathy for even the worst human beings alive, and that's making their society
I
better. I
don't
just don't see
you
this
keep
borne out.
calling it hyper empathy. It's not hyper
Not
empathy.
celebrating Hitler's death is hyper empathy. I'm sorry.
No,
Like,
that's not hyper empathy. I'm not asking you to be I'm sad about Hitler's death. I'm asking you not to celebrate it both strategically and morally.
okay, well, we've circled around on the moral argument. Do you not understand strategically how good it could be to celebrate the death of one of the worst human beings ever?
Give me your argument.
Sure. Do you think if you had two politicians running post, 1945, one of them was like, "Hey, American pride, we stopped the Nazis and we killed Hitler, awesome," and the other one's like, "Guys, stop celebrating Hitler's death." Which one do you think is going to win the fucking election?
Okay, I'm not asking you to scold people who do this. This is you
Well,
keep
you're not.
sneaking
Whoa,
this
whoa,
in.
whoa.
I'm
You're
asking you to say the hold on. The the politician who is like we saved Germany versus the politician who says we killed Hitler.
well,
Which do
but
you
yeah,
think
but
resonates more with
we can do
voters?
both. The politician who
I
says we
don't
killed
think you
Hitler is saying we saved Germany and killed Hitler. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Not, ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that Saddam Hussein bumped his head when we captured him, and we're doing everything we can to make his suffering less bad. Anyway, we stopped Saddam Hussein. Is going to do poorly compared to the ladies and gentlemen, we got him politician.
$10 from old school to say, Wick, if you think Dems are in the same universe as victory in the midterms, I want what you're smoking. At least the crazy liberal fascism soy pill expresses will keep you from that. Uh,
Liberal fascism.
I don't understand the liberal fascism thing, but thank you for the $10. And yes, I think the victory in the midterms is on the table. I think that we are cruising
I
for
agree with that, Canute.
a blue wave. Um, I think that again, in the context of American politics, well, as I said, if Trump died today, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Trump dead.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Crab emojis
do
in
you
the
think it
chat,
would be
ladies and
better
gentlemen.
for us politically to not celebrate it, to express some condolences and sympathy, right, and just say now we can get back to the governing our nation, right, and maybe we can turn a page on this, versus yeah, I'm glad he's burning in hell and posting all the memes you know are going to be posted,
I've got a
right? You
folder. I
know,
had a
you probably
folder
got a few in
ready.
the drafts, right, ready to go.
I
Okay,
did because of that. I got baited when we thought he was going to die. Um, well,
yeah, I
here.
think
Let's
that
let's. We don't even look. We don't even have to go into the hypothetical.
what do you
Obviously,
think
hold
it's
on.
going to do better for us
Obviously,
politically? Which
obviously,
path?
I think if Democrat politicians were out there celebrating the death of a president, that would be really fucking bad for our country. I think that would hugely divide us. I think that would hugely radicalize the right, and I think that yeah, we would be in a much worse spot. But again, I don't think that even most Republican politicians would have celebrated had Joe Biden died in office, and I think that's a good thing. Um, Now, if people do it, if the citizens do it,
The
if
public.
my immigrant
Yeah.
friends and family do it, if my trans friends do it, if any person whose life has been fucked up that works for the government in the past few weeks said, thank God that fucking retard is dead, I don't think that's going to divide our country. No, I really don't.
I think it's going to make it harder for the Democrats to win. And I think it's going to be harder to get people who have been on the right onto our side because we have decided to make a mockery of someone that they, even though they shouldn't, but they do consider him to be one of them, to be
So
their champion, to be their leader.
I'm
I think it
imagining this world,
alienates people that we don't need to
Wick,
alienate for
big,
no
big
reason. It
dog,
doesn't
big
help.
dog, big dog, big dog. I gotta say this. All right, imagine a world where someone has still on board with MAGA after everything that has happened, and they're switching over when he dies because the left doesn't celebrate. That's the thing that switches them over. Who the fuck are you talking about? Who are these people?
I think that there are people who just want to go back to normal, who want
The
an
MAGA
off
people want
ramp.
to go back to normal?
Yes, I think there are people on MAGA side who want an off
Thank you,
ramp, but
Bionic
we have
Latino.
again
I
we
agree.
have given them no off ramps. We have shown them what happens to people when they try to
Yes,
come back.
Astra,
We
he
just
is really
mock
saying
them
that.
relentlessly. There's no way back for them in many cases, and we see this. A lot of extremist groups will do this on purpose. They will purposely separate the. Well, I'll give you a great example: the KKK. Okay, one of the things that the KKK does during their parades and their rallies and things like that is they put their kids up first. Do you know why they do that? So people will spit on
Because
their
if they were in the
kids.
back, you couldn't see them.
No, because people will spit on their kids as they go, and they take their kids and say, "See, this is how they treat you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they think of you. They call you um, uh, a little kitty fascist." I think even Jay Jones said these fascist little kids, right? I think
Yeah,
he made a similar comment, right?
yeah.
This shows the kids that there is only one place where they're going to be ever loved or accepted, and it's a radicalizing tool that they use to keep people within the KKK, right? So every single meme that we put out about Trump dying and things like that is serving the same
You
purpose.
think
It is a
celebrating
bullet,
Trump dying is the
an
same
arrow
as
in their
spitting
quiver.
on a child?
Yes, they are using it for the same purpose. It is a similar
They're
tool.
doing it anyway, is the point. They're
Hold on, it's
already.
far less effective. You keep saying that they're going to do it anyway. Sure, they will. I'll grant you that, but it's going to be far less effective if they have less ammo.
I
Okay? They're going to
agree.
hurt a lot
We
less
shouldn't
people if
always
there's
give
less
them
arrows in their
ammo.
quiver.
What I'm saying is the degree to which the ammo would be amplifying and changing whether or not they win more people over or fewer people move to us is not going to change because people don't celebrate it. Because one, it's going to happen anyway. So even if one person does it, it's already there. And I think the threshold, that the Rubicon, if you will, that shouldn't be crossed is when the politicians start doing it. That's when it's not okay. But just going, oh, well, maybe if 10,000 people didn't celebrate or 30,000 people fewer didn't celebrate. No, I don't think this matters in the slightest.
Okay, I think that we can see this is demonstrably not true. Sarcastic Warlock for $5
Who's this
says,
guy,
"I'm very
man?
sad about." I look, hey, dude's financing my stream. $5 for Sarcastic Warlock says, "I'm very sad about his death. He had so much more work to do, and only in the best way. Love you, Wick. So you don't know what side you're on. Okay." And then a membership for 14 months, tier 2,
Hell yeah.
Audacity. Thank you. The orthodox chicken sacrifice style behavior of putting the onus for behavior on politicians. Thank you for the 14-month tier 2 membership.
I want to talk about that last thing you said. You said this is demonstrably harming our movement. Can you show me how?
Sure. Again, I think that the KKK example was a real world example where we see how they use the actions of their opponents as fuel to
You,
further
what
radicalize
I'm
the
aware.
people
Well,
who
hold
are
on.
in
Let
their
me. I gotta
eye.
pause you. I gotta pause
Okay.
you because I want to make sure I lay out my criteria. I am
Okay.
aware that showing bad optics is a tactic that people will use. For that example to be evidence that you show me, you would have to show me that there was some significant margin of new recruits to the KKK that joined because they saw a child being spit on. In the same way that
Okay.
you would have to show me that people would have otherwise not voted MAGA or potentially gone on the off board because people were celebrating a Charlie Kirk thing. That's what I would need to
Okay.
see. That's the evidence that would be
Again,
like, oh, this is a very significant harm to the movement. This is changing votes in margins of hundreds, if not thousands, in key swing districts. Like, that's the thing I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe we should discourage this more. And I don't see that.
people are saying your mic's so quiet, but I have you.
Did it switch? Maybe my
You're
mic
up
shut
pretty
off.
high.
Give me a sec. It might have switched mics.
Okay, yeah, give it a second. People are saying that I can hear you fine, but I don't know why my.
No, I'm still using the right one.
But I do want to answer your question. First of all, I would say that again, we're
Thank
not
you, Ash.
talking
And
about
I knew
recruiting
Veterans Day was
people
yesterday. It was a joke.
here. We're talking about keeping people who otherwise might consider leaving the MAGA movement and coming back to the even further to the just never Trumper center right. I'd be okay with that, right? I think that it's self-evident that using examples, and they know this is true, right? Because they try this all the time. They're using examples, and they say this: the left wants you dead. The left does not care about you. The
Hmm.
left will laugh when you die.
Sure.
And they use these memes as ammo to do that. I think this messaging is going to be said no matter what we do, but
Okay.
I think this messaging has more weight the more examples that they have. Because
Yes.
everyone can kind of ignore, oh, they're just blowing it out of proportion if you have it in onesies and twosies. But when they have a large amount to draw from, then it becomes more something that
How
they're going
much
to take
more?
seriously. Hmm?
How much more? This is my question because I don't
It's
disagree
a
with your
scale,
premise.
man. I
I
can't
don't.
give you
I
an
don't
exact
disagree.
percentage.
Well, that's the problem. Is I don't disagree with your premise that obviously giving them more ammo is going to make it easier for them. But the more and more I see this, the more right wing accounts I follow and see what they post every single day. Right. What is the most one of the most pre Charlie Kirk prevalent examples of this of they want you dead and they don't care, especially from the white nationalists. Maybe can you think of what I'm thinking of right now?
Uh, I think they use the punch a Nazi meme a lot, and they'll do
This is
things like, "Oh,
I'm thinking
punch a
more
Nazi."
recent.
They call you a Nazi. Remember, they call you a Nazi. They want to punch you. This is something that I've seen a lot.
True Fox. I'm thinking something much more recent, which is the stabbing of that Ukrainian girl on the bus, where a crazy guy who happened to be black stabs someone, and they're like, they want you dead. This is the Democratic Party. They endorse this. They are going to try to silence you. They. Who fucking celebrated that? Who got amplified for being like, thank God this poor little innocent Ukrainian woman died? No one. But you know what? That's all it took. Just this one random example of a random crime that had absolutely nothing to do with political alignment. And that is the impetus for thousands of posts, for an entire movement online of they want you dead. So when you say, well, if 10,000 people were out there making Charlie Kirk jokes, that would make a significant margin. I say bullshit because you can take something completely irrelevant with no one celebrating and it will be the worst thing in their minds and they'll use it to demonize us all. It does not matter. I don't think it
These are
does.
not apples to apples, man. The thing they used about the Ukrainian girl's death wasn't the fact that leftists were celebrating it.
I
They
know.
used the fact that leftists were letting people out of prison.
Yep.
They pointed to his 13 convictions and how they were soft on crime.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very different tact that they took there. And that was effective because they were soft on crime in this guy's case. They did let him out of prison in this guy's case, right? And you can argue whether or not they should have, right? And we could talk about it. But the fact that they had this guy who'd been convicted multiple times roaming the streets, again, I think we both agree the justice system failed in this case.
I don't even think it's the justice
Do you
system.
not agree with that? The
No, I don't.
justice
I
system in this
don't.
case
I think the
failed?
justice system didn't fail. I think the mental health part of the justice system failed. If you want to tie that to the justice system, sure. But I think it's more about the resources that were not allocated to prevent this person from just going in and out of jail. It was more of, hey, this person should have been at asylum. This person should have been on a hold. I don't think that's. I mean, if you want to call that the justice system, sure. But my point is that people aren't like, yeah, using this as, look, the left is celebrating it, sure, but they're using it as ammo to say the left wants you dead, the left is soft on crime, the left doesn't care about you, white people are under attack. Look, I am Charlie Kirk, I am Aranya, whatever her last name is. They're going to use whatever they can, and it's all going to be effective because they're brought into this fake news propaganda machine. And yeah, if you give them the straw man version of what they're portraying and then they can broadcast that, it's a little easier. But I don't think it makes a significant difference. These people are delusional, they're in a cult, and it barely moves the needle. And I don't think one person doing it or 10,000 people doing it is going to make the difference. The line for me is when the politicians do, because that is giving permission for more people to say it's okay. That's my problem.
There is a difference between the hardcore MAGA cultists who, yes, I agree. Again, I think we talked about this backstage. This is why I'm pretty black-pilled on the Epstein file stuff. I don't think it's going to matter at all because here, there's a let me. I'll show it on screen because I think it's worth looking at. Give me one second. Blah 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 blah. I'll just pull this up. We can share the screen. You can share your audience. I don't know if you can read this.
Give me a sec. It's
Okay.
loading. Yep.
Yeah. Let me be fucking clear to every retarded liberal on this planet. I don't give a shit about the Epstein list. I don't give a shit if President Trump is on it. I wouldn't give a shit if Trump raped me. I wouldn't give a shit if Trump touched my kids. President Trump is getting shit down for the American people, and that's all that matters. I still support him and will continue to do so as long as I live.
Well,
Like
do you know what's
that
funny?
person,
You know what's funny about this,
we're
Wick?
never getting that person back. That person's gone.
Well,
Okay.
what's funny about this is in extreme cases, like when we're facing a MAGA fascist movement, that's just something I don't even disagree with necessarily, depending on the circumstances. But we could fight about
What?
this. But yeah,
So
look,
if Biden, if
no,
hold on,
wait, listen.
you already
I'll
said
give
if
you a real
Biden raped
example.
you, but let's say
If Bill Clinton had to run against Donald Trump for the third term, who would you support?
say one more time, please.
It's Bill Clinton and Donald Trump in the general. Who do you vote for?
I vote for Bill Clinton.
Well, okay, but now a week from now, when the Epstein files are released, we find out that both Bill Clinton and Donald Trump confirmed are pedophiles. Who do you vote for?
Okay, they're both on there.
They're
But
both on there,
I'll tell you what,
they both won
if
the
it was Bill
primaries.
Clinton versus Mitt Romney,
Mhm.
I'm voting Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's not what's
Okay,
happening.
so the
It's
guy
Trump.
who hasn't done the child rape, yes, I will vote for the guy who
Right,
doesn't.
but
If
in
there is
my
a
hypothetical,
if there is a
they've
if there is
both
a
done it.
if there is
It's
a
Bill Clinton
race
and
where
Donald
one
Trump.
person did the child rape and one person didn't,
I
even if the
agree.
child rape,
I agree.
even if
But
the
now we're
child
talking
rape,
about a race where they both did it.
JD Vance runs in 2028.
Nope.
Okay.
Stop changing the hypothetical. It's Donald Trump and Bill Clinton.
Okay. Again, I'm voting for Bill Clinton because they both did it.
Oh, so you would vote for a child rapist, Wick?
If the choices were
care?
child rapist 1 versus
don't
child
care?
rapist 2,
So you don't
yes, I
care?
have to use other metrics.
No, see, that's what I'm saying is it matters, but it doesn't matter in certain cases depending on how bad your opposition is, even though it's horrible,
Okay,
and this is
I'm
a
asking
huge
about
stain
these
on their
cases.
character.
So when you have JD Vance, who hasn't, to my knowledge, right, and maybe we'll find out later, right, but to my knowledge, hasn't done any of that. Say in 2028, you have JD Vance running against, I don't
Clinton.
know, Newsom, and then we find out a month before the election, okay? A month before the election comes, or maybe even the day before the election, you come with irrefutable proof that Newsom has been raping children. JD Vance doesn't do it, right? But Newsom does.
Mhm.
Would you vote for Newsom or JD Vance?
It depends only on the idea of how bad I think a JD Vance presidency would be insofar as the way that Trump's has. If he was probably going to be closer to like a milquetoasty like John Kasich, Mitt Romney, yeah, I'd vote for the Republican.
No, he does the same thing that Trump's trying to do right now.
I'd vote for Newsom. I'd vote for the child rapist.
Even
yeah.
knowing he's going to rape children like the whole time.
Well, this is
like
different.
every day he's going to have a new kid.
It depends
and they're going to have
on
fun
the
with
policies that he's going to pass and how bad this is. And we're getting these like stupid, absurd. You know the whole what's the hypothetical where it's like it's a world where the city's perfect, but they torture a child to make the city perfect. What's that story called?
Yeah, there's a book by I forget or Ursula Le Guin called Those Who Walk Away from Omelas.
Right.
It's a great book.
Yeah, someone in
Everyone should
chat.
read
Yeah,
it.
Those Who Walk Away from Omelas. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea is not the
Well,
character
you know the
of the
story.
person.
You should walk away from Omelas, right? That's the moral of the book.
In that book, sure.
Yes.
But here's the thing: when we're talking about the reality of how much does the character of the person I'm voting for president matter in terms of how they will affect the country? It matters insofar as how they will affect more people in the country. So if JD Vance is going to do all the horrible things Trump is doing, but he's a perfect goody two shoes, he's never done a drug, he's never harmed a fly. That matters less to me than if someone, let's say, had a past of being a felon or a murderer or whatever, and they're going to do the opposite and stop that. I care less about that person's character and more about the policies that they're going to pass because that affects more people. Now, there is some calculus of what about their judgment, right? What about how much they're going to pass those policies? Like, how could someone who professes to be pro-humanity also be a serial child rapist? That's insane, right? Obviously, all this stuff matters, but in this hypothetical world where, hey, how much do I value the character over the policy? I value the policy 100%, and I'm much more sympathetic to the Trumpers. The problem is the policy is also dog shit, and they do have a non-Epstein list person they could vote for, and they don't.
Just to be clear, though, in the election where you had Newsom, who rapes a kid every single day during his presidency, versus JD Vance, who's going to pass Trump's policies. Now, to be clear, Newsom's going to make the country a better place overall, right? Newsom will pass democratic legislation, democratic policies.
Crime down, potentially even like sexual crime against children because of his like good democratic policies?
Say one more time. Can you say that again?
Like, will his democratic policies drive crime down and make the world a safer place for more Americans than potentially the 1,500 molested children because of one a day?
Molest a child every single day.
Yeah,
you
I would.
bring
I
him the
would
child?
absolutely vote for him over JD Vance. Still, yeah, that's like that's
Would you
easy.
bring him the child to molest, right?
If I knew that in doing
Yeah,
so, I
you know
wouldn't.
what? The more children he molests, the better policy that he passes. Okay? How many kids? How many would you give him
I'd have to
for
get
free healthcare? Universal healthcare, everyone gets it. How many children would you bring to the Newsom rape machine?
I'd have to do the calculus on this, but
Okay.
there's a more than zero amount and a less than a thousands amount, and I think that would
Okay.
probably help.
It's a 0 for me, dog. Okay,
Hey,
it's a
look,
0 for me.
this goes back to what was it? Was it Andrew Wilson or Jake Rattlesnake or whatever? Who was like,
Oh,
would you support the like forced impregnation of women or like diddle 1,000 kids to save the planet? And it's like, yeah, in this absurd hypothetical where doing something evil saves literally every person's life, it makes sense. And all I'm saying is, although we're using these ridiculous fucking examples, is that yes, certain bad things that a character could do might matter less than the politics that they would have that would save American lives. And I'm okay with Gavin Newsom potentially cheating on his wife with his friend's wife, his campaign manager's wife, if it means that he's going to stop
sure.
MAGA as a movement. And
I
so
would
I
I
don't
would
think
agree
that's
with you.
very absurd.
There is some level of wickedness that I would be like, okay, I understand. It's not ideal, but I get it. But I would I would stress I would stress to you that there should be a line.
There should
You
be,
can pick
yes.
your line, but there should be a line that if they do these things, even if the other side is worse, you should be like, I am not going to support you.
Wait, would you celebrate if Gavin Newsom stopped diddling kids in this hypothetical?
Would I celebrate if he stopped diddling kids? Yes. I
Okay,
would celebrate the kids
what if one
stopped
of the
being
kids,
getting
one of the
diddled.
kids that was
Okay.
getting diddled like found a hammer and bashed his head in to stop him? Would you celebrate that?
I would celebrate that the kid stopped the guy, but I wouldn't celebrate that he died.
Oh, you heard it here, folks.
$20.
Wick would not celebrate if a diddler died.
No, I wouldn't celebrate if a diddler died. $5 from sarcastic warlock to say, as an extreme right winger, I love you, Wick. I'm proud to fund you because one day you'll openly reject genocide and be on our team. Screw Kirk.
What this guy is like
I don't
he
know.
took
I don't get it.
the Apple camera from like 2007 swirl effect and threw it on the political compass, and he's just
I
somewhere
guess.
in that little black hole.
$20 from sarcastic warlock. MAGA is the liberal for people who like guns. Don't you dare put the leftist Trump on my camp. Emperor Justinian and his god-awful wife played this out already, and it's foolish to misunderstand a walking straw man as the real deal. $2 from Speedy Lee. Wick, you're so close, we can fix you. And $2 from Regis side to say, please sneak in calling Soy big dog. I beg of you. Okay.
Yeah, that motherfucker. He was in my chat too.
Look, our super chatters are friends. Okay, I don't understand what's going on half the time, but that's okay. No, I don't think even celebrating the death of someone who is molesting children is good because again, hate is a habit. Empathy is also a habit, and I think we can separate like being glad that no kids are getting diddled anymore versus glad someone's dead. I think we
but
can
again,
separate
I know
those
we
things.
won't get into this again, but sometimes the only way we can be ending said evil is for that person to die. Sometimes that's just the case. And to regret every death, I think, is kind of silly. I think there's plenty of deaths
I'm
you
not
don't have to
asking you to
regret
regret
at all.
it. I'm asking you not to celebrate it.
So what is then the reaction if it's not regret or sadness? It's just like
You can
this,
just
like the
shut the
neutral
fuck
guys
up,
from Futurama that are
big
like,
dog.
I have no strong feelings about that
Hey,
death
big
one
dog,
way
you
or
can
the
just
other.
shut the fuck up. Start barking. Stop yapping. You can just shut the fuck up. You don't have to have a take. You don't have to have an opinion on a thing. It's okay to have no strong opinion or reaction and just say, oh, it happened. Okay. And move the fuck on. That's okay.
Okay. Okay. Maybe this is our compromise in the end of the debate. Just like the N word, Wick. If they say it in private, it's okay.
Look, I think you could say the N word in public sometimes and it'd be okay. There are certain circumstances where that could
Well,
be
optically,
true.
that's just awful for your movement, isn't it?
I think it depends. It depends what you're trying to do.
Oh no.
True. Well, I'll give you an example. Um,
Well, maybe you shouldn't. I gotta turn off the
I'm not gonna
stream.
say it because we can't here. But if I was at
What, are you
a
implying you'll say it somewhere else, Wick?
yes, I've said it before.
You
My teacher in
said
fifth
the
grade,
N
my
word?
teacher, yes, I've said it before. My teacher in fifth grade asked us a question. Hey, what slurs do you know? I answered the question. I answered the question. She asked it. I knew some slurs. I told her which ones I knew. I got sent to
I'd
the
back into
principal's
Kissinger.
office
He'd be more
for
limp.
that.
Yeah, I
That
wonder
was
why, Wick.
injustice. It was injustice, okay? I got tricked. I got trapped. If you're going to ask me a question and I have the answer, I'm going to give you that answer.
Was it the first one you said too?
Yes. I
Nice.
gave her a few slurs, okay?
Yeah, but you
I won't
started off with
repeat
your
them.
favorite, obviously.
It was the one that I knew first and foremost in my head. But I think that it's okay if, for example, you were describing a thing that happened to read that word. Like if you're reading Huck Finn, okay?
Yeah, obviously
You
there are
can
certain
you can
ways.
say it.
Yeah.
It's weird if you sitting there reading it and always volunteering for just that part. Then then we have some issues. But I think it's perfectly okay to just it's not like a spell, dude, right? Like
Okay, so what if people have an intrinsic happy feeling that they don't share? Do you think this is a stain on their character because this is the thoughts that are leading them down? But they're like, oh man, I'm really happy that thing ended. I'm not going to say it, obviously, because I agree with Optics Cuck Wick. But I am happy inside, and I'm just going to feel that and ponder it, and then let it go after a few days. That's also bad.
I think that again, are we talking about like celebrating death in that context,
Yeah, they're
correct?
happy. They're happy. Someone
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you had a
I
rapist,
don't
they
think you
died,
can
and you're happy in your
control
brain.
sure, I don't think you can control necessarily every single feeling you feel, but you absolutely can decide what to do when you feel that feeling, right? And you can train yourself to feel certain things less and feel certain things more. It's like you have at least some level of control over this, or you can develop it. And I want people to understand this. You can absolutely develop, right? This what makes you happy, what makes you sad to a certain extent. There's limits, and intrusive thoughts are a thing. If you get an intrusive thought and you think, wow, that's pretty shitty of me to think, and then you let it go, I think there's nothing inherently wrong with that. As opposed to getting an intrusive thought and thinking, that's,
That felt good. I
yes,
want to be
I want
happy like
to
that.
think
That's a
about
good
that more.
dopamine hit when Hitler died. How can we get more Hitler death?
Well, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't actually manifest like that.
That's
Again, we
true. We
have
did have the Nuremberg trials, and you got a few more hits with the head SS officers, and they hung them. But after that, they kind of tapered off. There's a big downward asymptote of Nazi head leader death. Enjoy it.
okay. I think we've hit a wall here. We've both made our points. Anything else you want to talk about today? Anything else you got for us?
I don't know. I guess yeah. To summarize, optically, I can agree that it can be bad. I think we are in very extreme circumstances, and nothing that we do or say will ever be appeasing to them. I think that I made a whole video on this, right? Like, we can't become the conservative straw man. That would not be good. But there are limits to this. I think being happy or celebrating the death, not really over the limit. Celebrating political violence, or the thing we got on Destiny shit about, where we're like, hey, it sounds like you're calling for more political violence, or at least refusing to condemn it. That's bad because that is normalizing and potentially making more political violence happen. Now, I know he's clarified since then, and I think he worded it horribly. I don't think he wants that specifically, but we both agree celebrating the violence part is what leads us into bad spots. I said this in my video. I know we both agree. I know we both have our lines. Yours is just over by Hitler, and mine is over by political violence. So
Okay.
ultimately, I don't think it necessarily is going to lead to moral failings. I understand why you think it could, but I think, guys, if you want to be happy, someone who's doing bad things isn't doing them anymore for whatever reason, you're good.
Do we want to take calls if we have callers? Is that something you want to do for a few
Thank you,
minutes? Or
Regicide.
do you got things
Yeah,
to
I
do?
got 2.5 hours. So if you want to take callers for like 10, 20 minutes, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So gang, if you have been watching this, so first of all, $5 from Sartastic Warlock to say I'm the only one donating. You people who think no one cares need to get against the wall. Deal with the fact that I exist.
We
Embrace me like
disavow.
I
That's
do.
political
No,
violence.
I
I
disavow
got,
that. Don't
I
go
gotta get a
against the
drink.
wall.
Give me a second.
Yeah, get your drink. Okay. So if you're here and you're like, Soy Pill, I think you're stupid, or Wick, I think you're stupid, and you want to tell us that to our face and you want to tell us why, okay? You can call in to the show to do so. I'll be providing the link in my YouTube chat. If you're in the Twitch chat, you can hit exclamation point Discord and it'll bring you to the link. You click that link, you accept the rules, okay? And then, oops, here they go. And then you jump backstage, which will be at the top of the YouTube channel.
For the record, guys, this mustache is not a stylistic choice. This is for Movember, shouting out prostate cancer and how bad it is. Not shouting out prostate cancer. Go get your prostates checked. Men, women, whoever has a prostate. Goon, frequent gooning leads to a healthy prostate.
The huge empty nothing of a line here. Come on, guys.
Oh, here.
You don't
Can you
want to
give me the
take your
link?
shot?
Can you DM me the link?
Yeah,
I'll throw it in my chat too. I'm sure some of my
sure,
chatters
sure.
want to hop in here, yell at you maybe, or me. Who can say? So Regicide probably come in and call both of us big dogs. So
Big dog.
a big dog.
There you go.
Thank you. Oh, there's someone. I hope I can post links. I am my
Okay,
fucking
here we
own
go.
admin.
Hello, you're live.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, actually. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of get Soy Pill to contend with what I feel is the better part of your argument. Why do you feel like all of these outcomes of death are so almost as if they were the determining factor in,
I don't think most of them are.
ending?
I don't think most of them are, right? So like when I talk about like, oh, this, hypothetical guy is sexually assaulting you all the time, like there are so many ways this could be stopped that aren't death, right? It could be they go to jail forever. It could be, they just decide to stop and be a good person. I don't know. The point is, there are certain cases where it is directly tied to them being alive, and their cessation of life is the only thing that stopped it, and you're allowed to be happy in those cases. You can be sad.
Yeah, but this is the thing you need to contend with though. Why do you have to be happy with the death of a human being rather than happy with the end of the bad situation caused by the human
Because I
being?
don't think you can necessarily tie those things or untie those things.
Really?
You can in a lot of cases. In some cases you can't, and then I think it's totally fine to celebrate their death. I don't think we should always celebrate death. I think most deaths shouldn't be celebrated. I think there are deaths that happen that are celebrated, and I'm totally understanding and sympathetic of them. I'm sure there was ones that I've celebrated before. I don't think I celebrated Dick Cheney. I definitely joked about it, but it's like, look, hey, do Iraqis celebrate that the guy, the harbinger of death on their country, is dead now? That's not even a cessation. He stopped. It's been like 10, 15 years since he was like, still a part of making that happen, but they're happy he's dead. The guy who like just killed all of their families and friends. Yeah, fucking, I don't give a shit. They should be able to celebrate it. And I don't think they're bad people for doing it.
I think I don't know if I'd make a moral judgment on a person based on like their emotional response to a thing too strongly because people do that all the time. But I do think it's a little knee jerk, and I think anytime you take a bit of a retrospective look at things, like you can always go back and just look at people as human beings. So like, obviously someone who
Wait,
was
pause there. I have to pause you there. When you
Sure.
say we have to look at them as human beings, I agree.
Mhm.
I made an argument like I don't think we should dehumanize Nazis. I think that Nazis should be humanized because it shows us that people like me and you could potentially lead to this sort of stuff. And I don't think
Yep.
celebrating the death is dehumanizing necessarily. There are ways to do it in a dehumanizing way, but when you say, "Hey, this person was a human and they made choices that I don't think they would ever feel shame for, they would never change, and that caused the deaths of millions," that's not dehumanizing to say, "And I'm happy they're dead." Not at all.
But you
And I
can't
think
be
that's
such an
okay.
absolutist and say people won't change, because that defeats the whole point. That means you're basically a Nazi that hasn't become a Nazi yet. It's stupid.
If I think that people can't change, do you disagree that, like, I'm a leftist who believes that everyone deserves at least like second chances, and that we shouldn't have super harsh prison
Unless
sentences?
they die before they do.
Well, let me finish. Do you disagree with the idea that there are people that will never change?
No, I don't disagree with that, but
Okay.
not as some sort of like predetermined thing.
I don't think it's predetermined.
There are people who will, just randomly
Okay,
for whatever
just be
reason not
clear.
change.
Be quick because we got a line now, and I want to get to as many
Yeah.
people as I can.
All I'm
The
saying
main
is
thing. Okay,
okay. Go ahead.
go ahead.
You can finish. No, finish.
No, let the caller finish, then you can respond, and we'll move. Yeah.
Sure. All I wanted to say is I think you can separate the celebration of, the whatever change occurred because of death, and you can absolutely separate that from a person dying. And I think like it's
I
very
agree. You
expected
can.
for human beings in the moment to be, to just connect those things together and not untether those two things and therefore celebrate death. But in general, I think if you look at it hard enough, you can go, yeah, this person was probably a baby and they grew up and they made some bad choices or whatever the fuck happened, and anyone can turn. So,
I'll say this:
in its deepest sense,
if every time,
no person is like inherently evil, and there's no real reason to celebrate human death. If anything,
Okay.
if you look at it
Okay,
with
no,
like a
I
really
get it.
mature perspective, it's a tragedy. At the
I
end of the
agree.
day.
I agree. I don't think
Give it to
anyone's
Saul.
inherently evil. I think celebrating the deaths when you could look at it more empathically is probably better in more cases. I think there's like more overlap between you, me, and Wick than there is not. However, and I'll even say this: if instead of having any death, every time someone was about to die, to seize their evil activity, we teleported them into the fucking shadow realm of Superman, where they're trapped in that mirror for the rest of their life. Yeah, that would be better. I don't want to kill people. I don't wish for more death. But I don't think that means that there aren't cases where you can celebrate it and not be a bad person, and it wouldn't make the world worse.
Okay.
That's it. There are cases where it's fine.
Thank you for calling in, dear caller, and I will talk to you later.
Peace.
I'm going to try to get the order you guys came in, but, I might make a mistake. Don't judge me too harshly. Don't celebrate my death if I get your order wrong.
By the way, yeah, I don't
What's up?
disavow any celebration or jokes about my death or whenever.
Can
it
you hear
comes.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's up?
Okay, I just wanted to say that
But not
I
inherently.
think I
Jake.
agree a lot more with Soy on this, and honestly, I really wanted to get your thoughts on this week because I've been watching, the sort of more mainstream liberal media space, and you have people like what's her name on the Young Turks, who's like sort of getting more sympathetic to.
Anna is not mainstream liberal, but go ahead.
Well, as mainstream, like in sort of the media, so she's like a more notable figure. I don't mean,
but I wouldn't consider her a liberal.
I would consider her sort of getting more conservative, but it's I guess that's a matter of.
Well, I guess beside your point. What's your question, buddy?
I don't understand how you
Thanks
can
for supporting
argue
everyone.
that
I
being
appreciate y'all doing that.
inflammatory or mean is bad, like political optic wise, when the rising faction in the like right-wing media sphere and just the right-wing faction in general are groypers. They're getting more and more powerful. They're about the most inflammatory people ever. And MAGA defeated the neocons and everything. They're much more inflammatory than the neocons. It seems like being mean and calling your political opponents, slurs and stuff. It seems like that does pretty well politically, actually.
How'd it work for them Tuesday?
Tuesday
Didn't work out, did it?
How did it work for them in general?
It's almost as if.
How did it work for them in general? How many presidential elections have they won?
One.
And they won completely two.
Two. Well, one in 2016, but 2016 was a different style, man.
How?
Not much.
Not really.
You don't
they
see
did it the same way.
The difference in rhetoric between Trump 1 and Trump 2?
It got worse, but we're talking about.
Yeah, it got
hey,
substantively worse.
Let's
not
ban
just
all Muslims.
Both times,
Mexicans
but
are
about
both times
rapists.
they were the
general.
most inflammatory, most like insult their opponents type ever. Each time they said the most ridiculous, crazy, just out there stuff. I don't understand it because from my view, like I hear this all the time, like, oh, this is why people hate the left. It seems to me that the people that are the most extreme, that say the most inflammatory stuff, tend to win more often than not. I don't think people turn away from the left because the left is mean to them.
Okay,
I
that's
think
just demonstrably not true, though, sir. Right? Or
how? Tell me.
Right? Like
I'm a guy.
Again, we can.
I can be your mommy if you want.
No, as long as you don't threaten to breastfeed me. I was on a debate last night. Someone threatened to breastfeed me. It was weird. Please.
Well, I mean, they do have those pills now that let men like lactate.
Yeah,
so I mean, if you want to,
not my thing.
They have
Okay,
those for 20
but
years. I don't know why
regardless,
everyone's upset about that.
we can look at because it's not just presidential elections. We have local elections. We have midterms. We have off-season elections, And by and large, MAGA won on 2024 on a fluke. I'll die on that hill. It was
don't
a
believe that.
fluke that they
I
won
don't
because
believe
of the
that.
economy, and the incumbents worldwide got destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? Not just in America, but worldwide, incumbents were getting obliterated. Okay.
Yeah, caller, I have to agree with Wick on this one, where it's like, yes, obviously this didn't make them fail, but the idea that if Democrats started doing the exact same rhetoric but left, like even Newsom right now is joking about it, but if we turned into the MAGA left, the blue left, that would not be better. I think we would have a less of a good turnout. I think more
I don't
people
mean
would be
exactly like that. No, I don't mean like becoming exact. Like I know the Newsom like joke Twitter account and stuff. I don't mean being like that. Like I don't mean being a leftist Trump. But what I mean by this is I just don't see the use in like policing what people on the left says when what people on the right say is 100% more extreme, 100% more inflammatory. Like when Destiny had the stuff where the floods happen and those kill people, or when he celebrates whatever. I don't see what is the use in getting angry about.
Because you're right, the people that are already okay with this language either one perceived us that way before, or will see any of that language and be turned off by it anyway, and they're never going to shift over. But there's a significant portion of people in the middle and even on the left that are like, holy shit, this is my party now. I'm not comfortable with that. Not maybe enough to swing the election, but enough to be like, hey, there are limits to the language that we need to have that don't let us get to that.
See, I think this is where I disagree with you guys. I think there's a lot like the vibe voters or whatever. I don't think vibes-based voters really decide who to vote for based on that. Like people like Joe Rogan, Podcast Bros, I think they choose who to vote based on who they think is the coolest. Like I just think they think like who. But that's no. But I'm saying those are vibes votes, but they're not vibes votes like based on what you guys are saying, like based on people being mean. Like, I think those people, they don't vote for the Democrats because the Democrats both seem sort of lame. You know what I mean? Like the woke scolding and stuff, and they don't seem politically effective and all this other stuff. I don't think they're going like, well, the left is going to celebrate the death of people, and that's going to... I just don't think this is what they're making their political decisions on.
Okay, well, I guess we just fundamentally disagree on our on what we're seeing like play out before our eyes electorally. Again, I would point to Tuesday's, not this Tuesday's, but last Tuesday's election, and I would point out to you that Jay Jones, who was absolutely
so you think that
mean as
the
possible,
result of the Tuesday's elections was because
every other race, every other.
So you think that the fact that like the right wing having extreme rhetoric, you think that had anything to do with like Tuesday's election?
Yes, I do.
Well, yeah.
No, see,
I think
I
that
don't.
it turns people off from MAGA, and I think that
I disagree.
They would lose less, and they would win more if they had more. I guess.
I disagree.
What's the word? Courtesy. And
no, see, I think the reason why Trump got a lot of Trump and his whole like the MAGA and the Republicans, they got a lot of an electoral boost because people just didn't like the Democrats. But a whole bunch of stuff has happened since then. The Epstein files, things are going worse with the economy.
One more last statement, then we got to cycle you out, buddy.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm just not willing to play this game where it seems like people on the right are willing and both able and allowed to do whatever they want. Like, it feels like we're supposed to be the adults in this situation. I just don't think that's a good political strategy. I don't think that'll work.
Well, I think that the reason that they lose more often than they win is because they behave the way they do. I think it hurts them more than it helps them. But
I disagree,
but
very well.
And I will talk to you later, okay?
All right.
Thanks. I'm sympathetic to a lot of that stuff, by the way.
Thank you. Violet River. Hello.
Hi. I would like to bring to mind something that Wick said a little earlier in this debate, where you were talking about the rhetoric that people were using in the Charlie Kirk memes, saying, there's people saying I'm happy he got shot and I'm happy that he suffered. And then Mr. Soy goes, no one's saying that he suffered. It seems like your issue is both one of framing and one of slippery slope. It's people framing the killing and the death and the political violence as a good thing, and that it's specifically going to lead to more.
I think it will. I think if we normalize this kind of rhetoric, it will lead to more violence down the road, yes.
Right. However, I also think you don't make a good case for what should be done otherwise with regards to, Mr. Soy responds with, well, should we be policing what people say and like scolding them? No, you should reframe that to be less happy with the violence. And you go like, well, we shouldn't be policing people or scolding them. It's just like, just be better, guys. What are we supposed to do about the whole thing?
I think that you can scold on occasion, but again, the circumstances in which Soy Pill presented me was they had just gotten freed from a concentration camp. I think there's a time and a place for these things. That doesn't mean we never scold. It's never okay to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. In fact, part of this debate is me turning to Soy Pill and turning to a lot of people
He's
saying,
scolding
hey,
me a little
the way
bit.
you're behaving is incorrect and wrong. And you
Wick,
should
start the timer.
do better."
1945. How long until you're allowed to scold the little Jewish boy released
Uh,
from Auschwitz?
31,
Yeah, right.
Act
Like,
7. You know what? It depends, right? I think that we can get a year after. Then if they're still on it about it, like, come on, calm
So yeah,
down.
1973. Little boy's grown up. He's recovering, and he's like, "Ah, God, boy, I'm glad they killed that Hitler guy." And you're like, whoa, 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 slow down there. That's gonna make you maybe even as evil as Hitler himself.
I think if my child, right, if I had a son, and he came to me and says, "Dad, I'm glad that Hitler is dead," I think we would have a talk about this. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the different things parents fear their children saying to them.
I mean, you
Mom,
laugh,
here's
but
my boyfriend
again, we have a
Snake.
wealth of literature.
I want a
that,
motorcycle,
again,
and I'm glad Hitler's dead.
I'm just saying that this is something that you need to
wait.
talk to people about. Is like, hey, if you're celebrating death, I think it does make you a worse person. Yeah.
Okay, so then you also argue that celebrating things that come directly of death implicitly do not have to celebrate death, right? Like, if
It
you've
doesn't
got
have to come
your
from
super
directly
duper
from
rape
death.
time, right, where you're getting molested every day, and then you celebrate that you're not getting molested anymore, then you're implicitly celebrating the guy's death because it has to be like that. How do you make the severance? What's like the mental gymnastics to make that work?
I think that, well, it's not mental gymnastics at all. Again, we can change how our thought pattern. Well, first of all, let me ask you: do you think that people can change how they think?
Sure. It seems like a
Okay.
silly question, but sure.
Well, why is it silly? Some people don't. Some people think that, oh, it's human nature. You can never, like, you're never going to solve it. It's just, it's
Well,
just something that you need to deal with.
I think it means nothing because being able to change how you think could be like as radical as like changing the whole way that you perceive things and the way that you
You can.
react to stimuli versus just like how you decide what to eat for breakfast, right?
Yes, but I'm asking you this so you can acknowledge that it is possible to do. And given that it is possible to do you think it would be better for someone to change their thinking habits to focus more on deeds rather than people?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Well, I can devagify this a little. I mean, to your original question, caller, which is, I think Wick would say, no matter what, you should always not want more death. You should never be celebrating death, and you can always do that no matter what the circumstances are that led to your cessation of punishment and torture or whatever. Like, you can always say, "Dang, at the very least it stopped. I wish it could have happened in a different way." That would be your answer, right, Wick?
Something like that.
Sure. So would you argue that this person has a moral duty to respond like that? And by going like, wow, I'm so happy that the guy that molests me every day is dead, would you say that they're having a moral failing?
Yes.
Okay. All
Okay,
It
right.
but
is
would
worse for
you
them
celebrate
to
if
respond
that
that way
person who
than it would be
celebrated death
to
died?
respond the other way. It would be better for them. They would have better outcomes. They would be happier. They would be healthier. They would be more mentally stable if they did it my way
Whoa,
than if
you
they
think they'd
did
be
it yours.
happier? What if you're telling
Yes.
them to end their happiness?
Okay. Again, it's false happiness. It's empty calories. It's happiness based on the suffering of others.
I don't know.
No, you
That's
don't know.
interesting.
I'd be pretty
Why
happy.
why is happiness based
Last
on the
thing,
suffering of others?
Violet River, and then we're gonna move you out because we gotta go through. Right.
Oh yeah, no, that's kind of it. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Again, we're reaching the limits of my memory here, so if I mess up, forgive me.
Take a screenshot.
Yeah, that's so much work.
It's one button.
Yeah, what's up,
Oh,
Josh?
hello, Rick.
Hey, Ross.
Hi.
What's going on, buddy?
Hi, Ryan.
This guy's
do
British.
you
If
got
that
for us?
makes you take his
The
opinion
audio.
more or less
Yeah.
seriously.
Wait, is this big dog guy or is this someone else?
No, that's someone else. But
Yeah. But I'm familiar to both of you guys. Just, you already know that.
you're not
But
here to jerk us off. You're
so
here to contend with us. Hit us.
yes.
Give us what you got.
So Vic, I'm gonna give you my perspective on the whole Osama bin Laden bit because you use an example. As a Muslim, I would like to humbly disagree with your point that we should celebrate Osama bin Laden's death or like extreme examples. Like from an American point of view, I understand, but for the rest of us Muslims, he was just as responsible for inciting violence and hatred towards us Muslims as much as you can pin the blame on like the Bush administration, the global war on terror, etc., and other things. Like for example, and this is just one extreme example. The other extreme example is Daesh, or as you what Americans would call them, ISIS. I don't call them ISIS because I deny their their claim on the Islamic State.
Certainly.
ISIS is like the Muslims' N-word. They take it back.
Yep, yeah, take it back. But that cult, they're pretty much a death cult. That death cult was responsible for the most uh, insane kinds of violence that I have not seen in my lifetime, like ever, even from a terrorist state. Because I don't think there's any terrorist group in the world that could call itself a quasi state like Daesh does. And I
Okay, and
think
you so
they're
just to get to your argument here, you think it's okay to be happy when an ISIS person gets killed, that you can celebrate it. Are there limits to this?
so wait, I actually
No, is
I
there limits to this? Is there limits to how you can
I
celebrate?
Just like wait, Wick, I want you to like
Yes.
someone needs to clip that and send it to you. Just like how ridiculous you sound. Like, whoa, you think it's okay to celebrate the death of ISIS? Like,
Well,
yes. Like what the fuck?
but no, but
again,
seriously,
I think my argument is sound, and I think that that sounds ridiculous isn't a very good argument against it.
No, I know.
yeah.
We had a whole argument
Vic, I
against
think
it.
yeah. Sorry. But no. I also think there are limits because I do
Yeah,
agree
sure.
with
So
Vic
you
that
wouldn't be
there
okay
is.
with, for example, you wouldn't be okay with someone every time they killed ISIS to celebrate by taking a selfie, like picturing them kissing the corpse, right? You would think that'd be a little wrong to do.
Yeah, that'd be wrong. I mean, I
That'd
know
be wrong. So
for a fact
you
that
acknowledge that there are at least limits to celebrations that you would not be okay with.
yeah, obviously, but I mean,
Even
obviously, I
ISIS,
know.
right?
Yeah,
Even ISIS, who you think is the devil, right?
yeah, but
Okay.
thing, yeah.
So my
So, but
argument,
the
just real quick, and
mm,
I'll let you respond. But my argument
mm,
is that I think that any form of celebration is going to lead you to be a worse person. It's going to lead you to more hate. It's going to lead you to less empathy. And I think that you should practice denying yourself of those bad emotions.
Wait, Wick, I need to jump in
mm,
here. You
Go ahead.
had a whole half of this argument about optics. And then we talked about the vibes-based Dems aren't cool Joe Rogan voter who definitely matter. Do you think it is good optics for you to say you shouldn't feel happy about the death of ISIS?
Is it good optics? I think that it attracts people to my show that I want to attract to my show.
Do you think
So,
it would
yes.
help you win an election?
Do I think it'd help me win an election? I hope it would.
I
don't know if it
think
would.
the right wing would clip that and blast it on every fucking news station as the cucked out, terrorist supporting Dems who say you can't be happy that ISIS is dead. And we would lose elections because of it.
Let me consider. I think that I'm willing to take a hit because even politically on this, right? Because I think that in the long term, having these kinds of standards and stances will help us win more often consistently. Now, you may be correct. In this particular environment that we find ourselves in, it might be the wrong move. But
I think you'd
play
lose
the
an election
long
20 years ago, too.
Huh? No, I don't think that.
You'd lose an election now, and you lose an election 20 years ago if that was your ISIS position that got blasted everywhere.
I don't think so. I think that we can look at the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats and how they dealt with these things. And the Democrats were much less bloodthirsty than Republicans, and they won in Obama's case twice, right? And also we can look at 2006.
Yeah, but you can't
and these
call
other
Obama
cases.
less bloodthirsty and then say, "Oh yeah, because he was out there saying
Mm.
you
Well, look
can't
at the people.
celebrate
Look at the
ISIS," because he was the one who killed Osama bin Laden and quasi celebrated that like announcement and was drone striking the fuck out of the Middle East and ISIS. So like that's not really congruent in my opinion.
Yeah, but they did try to paint Obama as like weak and soft on
And you know how
terror
much
and
easier
too
it would have been
empathetic,
if he
and
said
it
what you
didn't
said?
work.
100%, 1000% easier, 1000% easier to paint him that way.
Disagree. Okay.
Okay.
Is there I
Okay.
want the caller to respond, then we got to cycle you out, buddy.
Yeah, that's fine. What I was gonna say. Yeah. So Vic, I don't disagree that there's obviously gonna be limits, but the problem is that you think that empathy is like it's something that you have to practice. I mean, you have to practice in some capacity all the time, but at the same time, you do not seem to recognize. 'Cause I don't think social brought us up is that you don't seem to recognize that certain types of people, especially these kind of people, like ISIS, like Daesh, etc., etc. These people take advantage of people's emotions and empathy for them in order to weaponize it for their own gain. So,
Yeah, but don't you think they take advantage of people's hate too?
I mean, obviously they do. That's also a big part
Okay.
of it because
So yes,
I'm yeah.
obviously any
So I'm a
emotion
bit
they're
of
going to
a
try to take
nuanced
advantage
folks.
of,
Yeah,
but that doesn't
yeah.
make the emotion that doesn't give the emotion something that is a negative or positive, right? We know they're
Mm,
going to take advantage of any emotion we feel, right? Hate, love,
mm.
empathy, sympathy, derision, anything, right? And what you need to do is separate like you need to make yourself harder to manipulate, but that's a different conversation, right?
Yeah, that's a different conversation entirely. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that you can have this emotion, but you have to be able to relate them. Because
Okay.
like Kratos said, you that anger
Your
you
name
feel
is
is like a
Tuna
tool,
with the racist
but you can get lost in it. So it
Pakistani
should
Indian.
be
He's
like a tool that
Pakistani,
you
and you're coming in here
use
talking about
to either
smelling, and your name is Tuna.
motivate yourself, but you don't need to get lost in that type of emotion.
Okay.
And
Well, thank you for
yeah,
calling in, sir, and I do
yep,
appreciate you.
you're
Okay,
welcome.
bud.
Bye,
Vic,
Ralph. I'll
see you
see
on
you in my
Twitter.
Twitter
I'm gonna post
replies.
some news.
Okay, bye. Hello.
Howdy.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, nothing much. Just saw you talking. This is the first time from the soy pill chat.
Oh, hi.
Hi, soy pillar. What do you guys call
They're
yourselves?
called Soipers.
Soipers. Oh yeah, that's right, because it's the groipers, but it's soipers. Yeah.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
So I see the debate is whether or not celebrating Charlie Kirk's death is good.
That's actually
But I
not the
think we're
debate.
sort of missing
We've
the.
already moved to is celebrating Hitler's death good. We don't even have to talk about Charlie Kirk.
Well, I mean, we could probably find like through the yeah, what is it? I forget. Sorry. I think that as long as you both can agree that murder is bad, I think we could start from there.
Well, we
Well,
don't because I think that we should
sometimes
kill
murder is a
Hitler.
good, actually.
No, murder by definition is bad. Sometimes killing is good.
Fair enough. No, I'll just grant you that. Sure. Sometimes
Yeah.
killing is necessary.
Wait.
But Charlie Kirk was murdered, so that's bad, and we can all agree with that.
But we
Yeah,
okay, we
Charlie
all
Kirk's
agree
murder
political
was
violence
bad.
is bad.
True.
Yeah.
Yes. But by fact of his murder, it doesn't mean we have to grieve for his loss,
Sure.
even though we don't like that he was murdered.
I'm not asking you to mourn.
Well, I'm just trying to walk towards the conclusion of maybe him being dead isn't bad, even though him being murdered is.
You can even have that position that him being dead isn't bad, but there's a distinct difference between that and celebrating that he died. Do you understand the
Yeah,
distinction?
Wick understands that Charlie Kirk is no longer perpetuating bad ideas, but what he is demanding is that we all have little emotion regulating switches on us, and the instant you go above neutral for thinking about a death, you should be thrown into a gulag. That's the difference.
True.
Well, I think
Exactly.
the
That's exactly
fact
what
that
I
we're
said.
not
A gulag where you will be
celebrating.
tortured every day by
Mm-mm.
having to listen to
Just
Joy Cola
re-educated. Just
videos.
re-educated and Wick with the big Wick face screens and like 360-degree direction telling you to feel radical empathy.
True.
Well, I think the fact that it's not the celebration of his murder, and it's more or less the celebration of him not being around. I think there's a bit of a difference.
Wait,
Though I
actually,
guess
wait, caller, yes, I agree with this. Hold on. Wick, would you celebrate today if Steven Crowder quit politics?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Would you celebrate if he died but said, I'm not happy about the death. I wish he was alive. I don't think he should have been killed. However, I'm very happy he's not doing politics. Are you allowed to feel happy about that part?
I think you're allowed to feel happy that the threat is gone, but I would not feel happy that he died. No.
Okay. You know what? I'll take it. All right. Go feel happy, and then just make sure you clarify to everyone chastising you that it's not about the death. It's about the fact that
Well,
he's not doing it
again,
anymore.
then we get into the publicly being happy about it, and I think it would be a mistake to be publicly
So are
happy
you
about that.
morally opposed to Schadenfreude?
Yes.
Schadenfreude is bad just because it's German, huh?
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in, buddy.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you later, okay?
Farewell.
Hi, you're live.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
what you got?
Oh, what do I got? I'm a little bit sad that the debate didn't move on to the more prompt of the actual stream and it was all a moral debate, but because you guys argued about this already and there's one question that I didn't get an answer to from your Wick is I think you already said that humans can't control what they feel. So if a really bad person like Hitler dies and I feel glad that he's dead,
This guy's German.
I can't really control my feelings.
Well, there's you can though. Like there's intrusive thoughts, but you can self-regulate your feelings. Like we can control to a certain extent, whether or not we embrace a feeling or we let a feeling go. Right? We could train ourselves to do this. This is something you can do.
How do you train yourself? Do you like self-flagellate when you think about Hitler dying? And get happy? You're
Exactly.
just like,
Right.
yeah,
Well, there's
bad.
different. I'm not a psychologist, man. I can't give you the specific ways to do it, but you can absolutely practice
Mindful meditation
feeling
on Hitler.
more love for people, and you can practice feeling more hate for people if you wanted, right? But you can absolutely change how you process information. This is something that you can do.
Okay. I would ask, Wick,
What's up?
how much of a moral failing is it though? Is celebrating Hitler's death going to fester on my soul like necrotic damage?
On a scale
Sure,
of
on a scale of
a
10
scale
is
celebrating to
probably very
Hitler,
mild.
what percentage point is it?
On a scale of 100, what percentage point
100
is
is Hitler, and 0 is not celebrating Hitler's death. Where does it fall?
Where does what fall?
Celebrating Hitler's death on the scale of not celebrating Hitler's death to Hitler. Where does it fall on a 0 to 100? 100 being
So
Hitler and 0
celebrating
being
death-
not celebrating Hitler's
death, like on a scale of Hitler to your Hitler versus you're not Hitler, from
death.
0
No.
to 100.
0 is I'm not celebrating Hitler's death. 100 is your Hitler. Where does celebrating Hitler's death
If
fall?
you do celebrate Hitler's death,
Mhm.
it's a very small sin. It's like a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
Okay,
And I think it's an acceptable sin.
It's not gonna make you a bad person overnight. But these 1s and 2s add up over time, and it does desensitize you, and it does create habits in how you deal with people and how you view others. And I think those are negative.
Celebrating Hitler is the step 1 on the many steps it takes to becoming Hitler.
The road to hell is
Celebrating
paved,
his
right?
death,
With
to be
good
fair.
intentions.
Actually,
Okay, I
celebrating
think
Hitler
you
actually
said
does lead to
earlier that this is an actual slippery slope, but if you yourself categorize it as so weak, then I would say
Hold on.
being glad that Hitler's dead
Hold
or
on.
any
Being glad that
other
Hitler's died is
equivalent or
weak,
near
but being
equivalent
glad that
person.
Trump has died is
Watch the
more.
hand. Watch the hand, Wick.
My heart's going out to you, brother.
Mhm.
But anyway, again, Hitler is weak. But if you were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, That's way up there. That's like a 50.
Okay, but there's a difference. You're jumping.
The difference I am
We're
as the
talking
Fox
about
is
the
that
emotion
would
that I
get,
feel when
Republican support.
somebody who's really terrible dies, and you are then jumping to celebrating. We're still in the I'm feeling my feelings part.
Okay, if you're just feeling it, then again, just having an emotion come up, it's how you deal with that emotion. Do you celebrate that emotion, or do you cast out that emotion?
Okay, because you said it, even people who are glad that Hitler died, it's a moral failing there. But now you've said it's a very small moral failing. So I would agree with that, because I think, just like you, I think caustic environments cause caustic people. If you do too many bad things, even as a joke, they turn into real beliefs over time. But I think this is such a tiny thing that the idea that it's a slippery slope that is going to lead me from being glad that dictators that commit mass murder are dead will lead me to celebrating my bad teacher got into a car accident. That is fallacious. That is just not true.
Okay, I
It's a wet
disagree
slope,
with you. I
if you
think that
will.
it doesn't necessarily have to be true, but oftentimes we see it becomes true.
I don't think you had the
Oftentimes?
evidence. I don't think you
Yes,
had the evidence
oftentimes we
presented for
see it
that, Wick.
true.
I don't think you did. Don't think you presented us with that. I won't take your
I
word on
don't.
it.
You don't
I
think I
refuse.
presented to you this again? Look at the current national politics and how abrasive and toxic it's become.
But
It's
you're
because
saying
we've
you're implying
indulged
that
in the hatred of our enemies.
you're implying that the toxic environment that we are in now is because people celebrated the deaths of Hitler adjacent figures, and I don't think that's the case.
Again, that's part of the problem, but it's not the whole problem.
I don't
right?
even
And
think
it's a small
it's
part of the
I would
problem.
say it's less
but
than a
it,
2 or a 1 on a scale of 0 to 100 of the
it
problem.
allows, again, you start with a 1 and you eventually get to 100 if you indulge in these things. But thank you for calling in, caller.
Can
and
we
we're gonna
talk
try to
about
get
how
to
this
Thank you.
German and or Austrian guy is so articulate that he's using the word caustic? What is it with Germans and just having the most verbose vocabulary and making Americans look dumb?
I'm just trying to do my part.
Well, I was just saying we appreciate you and your dedication to
Thank
learning
you
our
very
language
much.
better than us. Grüß dich, ciao,
Yeah,
auf Wiedersehen.
Oh,
Astrolite.
oh,
What's up?
oh! Sorry, I didn't see you. Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to talk about like something you said earlier, Wick. Specifically the Hitler thing, where it said like you shouldn't celebrate Hitler's death. I just think that's like a really, really weird thing to say.
It could be
I'm gonna be
weird.
honest.
I know
That's
a
not
lot of
an
people
argument,
wouldn't take
Astra.
that.
Can you present an argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
but- yeah.
Um,
It's weird. Sure.
Sorry. I
I
just.
mean, in MAGA, it's like in certain societies, it's weird not to rape people, right? Like, there's a lot of rape going on in
Wait till
certain
I finish
societies.
drinking. Jesus
It's
Christ.
weird not to. But like, I'll be weird in that case.
Okay, my argument is then that I believe like you should be able to be like happy if someone who is like genuinely like just scum of the earth is dead, and I think you should be allowed to celebrate that.
What do you mean allowed? Like, I'm not going to stop you, but I think that
No,
you shouldn't. I think you're a better person if you don't.
yeah, I understand that viewpoint, Wick. I really do.
Do you
but-
agree with it? Like, we're talking better or worse. Do you think a person who doesn't is better than a person who does?
Well, again, that depends on the situation.
Yeah,
Because
Oh, go ahead.
Let's use Charlie Kirk. The person who doesn't
I'm not-
celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, are they a better person or a worse person, all else being equal, than the person who does?
I didn't talk about Charlie Kirk. I
Can
personally
you answer my
don't.
question? Then we can go to yours.
Yeah, but the problem
Okay.
is, Wick, you're saying it's for the Hitler, so I don't even think they need
Yeah.
to answer that because we can talk about literally what we consider the worst human being alive or dead.
There's also another person I'd like to talk about, Peter Scully. I think if he died, that would be epic.
Peter
If you
Scully,
don't know
I don't
who-
know who he is.
Yeah, we don't do British politics here. This is America. It's the only country that matters.
That's not a British politic. He's not a politician.
Who's
Peter Scully. I'm not familiar with the person.
He's the I don't know how to say this without getting demonetized.
So, well, then. I don't like we're talking about Hitler
Yeah, we're talking
here.
about
I mean,
Nazis. What could it be? I mean,
Right. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
not I'm just okay. What I want to say is, like, I believe you should be allowed to celebrate the death of Hitler. I think that is something that should be allowed because he was killing people. so many people.
Yes, he was
And-
doing a bad thing, and he should have been stopped. And that's good that he got stopped. But if you're celebrating the death,
Shame
I
about
think
that death, though. Damn, that
What?
sucks, didn't it? Big
Yeah,
shame.
celebrating the one death of the guy who was causing like millions of other deaths. That's
That might
you
turn
can
you.
celebrate
That's
that the
that's how it
millions of other
starts,
people were
Astra.
saved.
You celebrate Hitler's death, and then you wake up in one day and you realize that you're Hitler now. It's just it's inevitable. It's a slippery
No, I
slope.
don't wanna
It
be
happens, and we see this. I don't. You guys are mocking this,
Okay.
but we have again seen the dehumanization of huge groups of people by MAGA, and this is the same thought pattern. There is no difference. Your brain does not process it differently. The joy at the suffering of Hitler versus the joy at the suffering of a child. Your brain feels the same fucking joy.
I think very differently about the situations. I think that
I
child
don't think
is marginally, if not significantly, better than Hitler.
yeah, like,
Depends on the child, right?
I don't think any child is even close to
What about
yeah,
baby Hitler?
1%
Would you
of
celebrate
Hitler.
the death of baby
No,
Hitler?
dude,
He hadn't killed anyone
no,
yet.
no, second he turns 18, kill him, that's fine. But don't
Okay,
kill him
so
when he's like a
17
baby.
and a half, he's safe.
No, fuck that. I'm Jeb Bush on this one. I'd strangle baby Hitler. Absolutely.
Strangle. Would you
Okay.
celebrate strangling baby
You're goddamn
Hitler?
right I
Well,
would. I
no,
just
well,
saved
no, 'cause,
millions
like-
of people. What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, but like we wouldn't know if he would do that, so you were just kind of celebrating the death of a baby.
Well, no,
didn't do
we this is under the presumption that I've gone back in time knowing that he will become that.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
and yeah. I'm not going to
But then,
just
like,
strangle a
the
baby
time
because I
break
think he
is-
might be Hitler. I know it's baby Hitler. I checked the fucking birth certificate, all right?
You got it correct, yeah.
But yeah, I just really do not understand this argument that we shouldn't celebrate Hitler's death because
Well, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you the straightest way I can. I think that, as I said before, hate is a habit, and when we allow ourselves to indulge in hate, even if people we think are very justified to hate, it makes it easier to hate other people that may not be as justified to hate.
Wait,
And
I have a question for
we
you,
have
Wick.
to keep our defenses. Just let me finish. We have to keep our defenses strong. We have to exercise keeping that out of us and keeping that poison out of our minds. It makes
Wick,
it's just a better way to.
Do you think
dude,
do you
it's
think
Hitler. It's
we got
fucking
he's not
Hitler.
gonna he's not gonna cave on Hitler, unfortunately, Astra. But,
I'm
but
sorry.
let me try this,
Sorry.
Wick. Do you think that the military would be more effective if they regretted every single kill that they had against terrorists?
You don't have to regret. Again, you keep sneaking these other
Sorry.
words
Do you
in.
think the military?
I think
do you
that
think the
hold on.
military? Do you think the military would be more effective if people
What do you
who were
do to
tasked with
to
killing
soldiers who
terrorists were
celebrate
happy
death
every
of
time they got a new one?
Hold on. I've been in the military. Do you
Did
know
you
that
kill a
we have
terrorist?
regulations against
sir.
celebrating the death of killing our enemies?
Oh, come on, dude. You see
Why
all
do
the
you think
fucking
we have
clips of the
those?
people in like the helicopters being like, hot
How
damn,
do-
we got them.
What do you think we
Target
have
down.
regulations against taking trophies and stuff, cutting off the ears of the
Yeah,
enemies
I don't
we've
think
killed?
we should do that. Yes, obviously. Obviously, you
Well,
and I
yeah,
are going to
that's
agree more.
Why?
on
But I'm
that.
asking you, why do we have those regulations if it's okay to celebrate? Even like we're shooting Osama bin Laden after all,
Mhm.
right? We're
Yeah.
shooting ISIS. We're shooting really bad guys. We're killing Nazis.
Mhm.
Why is it that we have these regulations in place?
Because it
not sure.
potentially is going to encourage, worse things happening. And you and I already agree on this. But the point I was trying to make was like, there's a
Yes.
significant amount of people in the military that I bet you could argue it's probably better that they're happy when they, get the kill and save their friends and all that. So.
Yeah. This is
is this my
And it's
Discord
also
or your
because
Discord?
it's also because of big government and they want all the scalps for themselves. And they're greedy.
Do you have a MAGA hat or what does that say?
That's a Make America Healthy hat. I wanted at a I wanted at a Wait, sorry, one sec. You roboted out. One more time.
hat in the hat in the back.
That's an
You're gonna
RFK Make
kill the guy
America.
with the MAGA hat.
Oh God, calm down, Wick. All right, that's a Make America Healthy Again hat that I won at a Trump rally. I have it. I'm not pro MAGA. It's fucking stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna let you go, Astralight. Thank you for
Okay.
calling.
Thank you, Astro.
Thank you. Sorry for like making bad arguments. I'm just not very good at it.
It's
No,
okay.
dude,
Thank
you're
you
good.
for like having.
You know, Soy Pill made a lot of bad arguments too. I still love him.
All right. Hitler Defender 997 or whatever you want to call you.
Bro, you said that you would feed Newsom children to rape.
And I would
It
strangle
made
baby
the world
Hitler.
being a better place.
I would. I'd strangle
don't know.
baby Hitler too.
Ladies, big dogs, one and all. It's me. It's me. What do I
What's
do
up?
now?
You
Yes, it's
give us
me.
what you
I'm
got.
Regicide. I'm Regicide from the Soiper chat. Okay, so
Come on, big dog. You talk a big
there.
game. You
I
got to be
feel like
prepared. What's going on? What's on in your brain?
We're not scary. Come on.
okay. I feel like Wick. I'm gonna also do a personal anecdote here, but I feel like Wick. I believe like your ideology. I'm not like not. I'm not saying this in like trying to be condescending or anything.
Just
But
say it, man. You don't have to throw care.
sorry,
I promise
sorry.
my feelings won't be that hurt.
I already called Wick a cunt.
Man,
I
You can say
find
whatever
that
you
you
need to
can be
say.
a little naive and like a little. It's like a little like idealistic. Like I feel like if you like if someone horrible dies that was directly inflicting death on
Astra,
multiple
your
people,
accent was
it's like
delightful. Don't listen to them.
I guess the part utilitarian in me sees like yes, this is a good thing, but like you know what I'm saying?
no. Can you repeat that, please?
I think, wait, tell me if I'm wrong,
So like
Regicide. What you're saying is, based on a utilitarian worldview, less death is happening now, and you're not even necessarily celebrating death. You're just saying the world is a better place, and I'm just lumping in whatever happened to make that happen is good. Yeah?
yeah. I don't think death just by itself should be celebrated, but like
Okay.
when you have a net positive, like that death is of a very bad person, like Hitler. There was a net benefit to him dying. So I think
So, well,
that
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So, you think if the world is net a better place, if X happens, that it's okay to celebrate X. So, would you celebrate knowing that Newsom raping those children would make America a better place? Would you celebrate his raping of those children, knowing under the hypothetical that it's making the world a better place? Every time Newsom rapes a child, 100 people get health care. And are set for life, and their ills are washed away. Would you celebrate that?
okay. I was going to address the fact that that doesn't directly correlate, but in this hypothetical scenario, him doing that to those children does directly correlate in this hypothetical scenario, correct?
Yes.
I wouldn't even
In
celebrate
that
it.
world,
I
feel like
I think that's a necessary evil.
No,
thing
let
that
him
was
answer. Don't save
Wick.
him. Let him answer whether he
I've got
would
this.
celebrate
I feel like
the fact that
that's
Newsom is
very
raping those children.
okay. So like, there's much less net benefit there, and much
No, I'm saying
more
there's more in this
net
hypothetical.
negative
There's
there.
more.
Just make it directly.
I feel like
More
no,
benefit.
like regicide. We'll make it
I feel
directly.
like
Every time Newsom diddles a kid, 1,000 kids are not diddled that would have otherwise been. Would you celebrate it?
I think I would celebrate that. Yes, I think.
Okay.
See,
Well, thank you
I
for
wouldn't even
calling in,
celebrate
brother.
that. But
I'll
this is a hot
talk to
take
you
for you,
later.
regicide, and maybe you too, Wick. I think diddling children is much worse than killing Hitler.
True, actually. I am not against killing Hitler. I'm against celebrating death. Hello, you're live.
I could do a couple more. I gotta head out
Yeah,
about.
two more. We'll do two
Hi,
more.
hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, what's up?
Let me pause the stream. Okay, so am I allowed to just go ahead and say what I think? Sorry.
Yes, you're allowed.
Okay,
Only
That's why we
because you
called
asked.
so I personally felt like the moral thing where it's like, oh, you're a bad person if you're celebrating the death. I don't think that it is inherently bad to celebrate the death. I don't think it is something that we should be the first thing that we have people do. I also don't think celebrating the death inherently means that it is a condoning of political violence either, especially when it's tied into like this is these, like you were saying, cessation of something that is bad, right?
Person from
I
my
don't think
chat?
it has to equal
Who are you?
we're like we're condoning political violence to that. So that's what I think. And then also on the thing like, oh, it's a moral failing, or you're thinking a bad thing, like you should not have bad feelings, or not even you should not have bad feelings, but you should try not to, is basically what I'm assuming that you're saying, Wick. I feel like
Well, let me ask you this. Can I ask you this
Go
real
ahead.
quick? I don't mean to interrupt.
That's such a good comment.
No,
J-Rock.
go ahead.
Okay, Ella. So if you are walking down the street and you see someone and through no fault of your own, you get intrusive thought, right? This intrusive feeling of just pure
understand I am Mr.
hatred for
Fox.
this person.
I'm
Like
not
it's
done
just
with
some
him,
rando, you don't
but
know
damn,
them,
this is dumb.
and you're just like this wave of hatred washes over you. Do you think what should you do with that emotion?
I feel like you should. I mean, this is a random person you don't know, so I feel like
Yeah,
you
just
should probably try to control it, right?
You've had these
Um,
intrusive thoughts, right?
Yeah, I do struggle with intrusive thoughts. The thing is that they're unwanted. I believe that if someone is celebrating the death, that means that's like a conscious thought they're having, and that person did something bad. The difference between the hypothetical you're giving me, I feel like it's not exactly. I don't know if there was a point you're getting to that after
Sure.
that,
My
but
point,
like,
just to let you know, is because you
go
mentioned
ahead.
something about like how whatever we feel, we should just kind of embrace, right? Is that kind of what was getting you? I was saying in not every case is that true, and I just want to get the acknowledgement that there are certain cases that what we feel might not be valid, and we might want to try to distance ourselves from those feelings.
Yeah, so basically what he's
Right,
saying,
I
Ella, is
agree.
when next time you think about Hitler and you're like, God, I'm glad he's dead, you need to step back, center yourself, practice some meditation, and think, why did I think that awful thing just there? What is wrong with me? And then restructure the neurons in your brain to not do that ever again.
And here's the thing, like again, I think it's a human thing to have those thoughts, and when it's someone who has done something horrible or who is encouraging harm, I don't think that it is fair to say morally someone who is celebrating that death, even if it's for a moment, is like an evil person or they're having like this intense moral failing. I don't think that it's as big of a deal as maybe Wick is saying that is. I do think it can influence people, but I don't think it's to the point where it's like I think that person is evil and I should say that they're morally failing and that they shouldn't be expressing this emotion, because I do think for some cases it does make sense, especially when it's something that deeply affects them. To make them to make a quick hypothetical here.
Quick
If
hypothetical. Let's
Go ahead.
hit us with it,
Okay,
and then we got to
sorry.
move out.
Okay, got it. Thank you. If I have a groomer or a pedophile, right, that I talk to, they die. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be like, yeah, they died. And for a moment, even if I feel bad, I think it's more complicated than that. Anyways, this
Moral
isn't a perfect
failing on your
hypothetical,
part. How
but
dare you?
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, and it's with humans, it's so complicated. Morals are complicated, and it's a cultural thing, and also. Anyways, yeah, that was my point. That's all I had to really say.
I agree with this
curious
caller.
about
I
the
think if you
hypothetical.
try to fight, if you
Like,
try
I
to
don't know where
fight
they
yourself,
went.
if you're fighting yourself, you are paddling upstream, trying to stop yourself from feeling happy your groomer died, and that's unhealthy. That is energy wasted that you could be spending doing other things. So just celebrate and move on.
Okay, I
don't
think
think
that
it's
we
that big of
need,
an impact on me.
and
Yeah.
this is the last
No,
thing I'll
I'm
say,
agreeing.
then
Yeah.
let you go. I disagree. I think that people should try to understand that all human life is precious, even bad people,
Even Hitler.
right? And I think that trying to decide which people we can celebrate, which people we won't, that is much more energy than just simply in general saying, "Hey, we don't celebrate death here." I think it's much easier. But thank you for
Either it's
calling
all
in, dear
okay
caller.
or
And I
no
will
You're
talk to you
welcome.
later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
I can do one
guys.
more with,
Bye.
but I gotta skedaddle.
Okay, one more. Who's the lucky one? Okay, Alish, what you got? Oh, you're
Howdy.
live. What do you got?
Yep, howdy. Can you hear me?
Yes. What do you have?
Fantastic. So, celebrating death in America, it's kind of like what America was established on. I mean, we literally advertise the death penalty and sensationalize I was about to say unaliving because I think I'm on
You're
TikTok.
fine. You're on YouTube.
The
Please
killing.
don't poison our word,
What?
our language here. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting I'm not on TikTok. Anyway, that we're actually killing actual criminals and we celebrate it, we advertise it, we put it on
Polio?
TV, and
That's
we
such a good
show
point. That's gonna be
them
my last point to make
getting
before I go.
killed. Our own president, our lovely president, Donald Jeffrey, I know his middle name's not Jeffrey, Trump, said that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi died like a dog. Al-Baghdadi died like a dog. And he celebrated it, right? Our entire culture is built off the back of winning wars. Is it not?
It's good or bad or neutral?
It's not good or bad. I'm not going to say it's neutral either. It's just what we've
there's no moral weight you give to the fact that, in your opinion, and I would disagree with your framing here, that American culture was built on the death penalty and killing others. I disagree
It was,
with
yeah.
that. But you think that that's a neutral thing, that there's nothing wrong with that?
No, this is not neutrality. This is just what has been established in culture. Like, if you're going to look at it from a cultural position, the entirety of
This is
America
the
is
last
built
call,
on
Benjamin. So
winning wars.
the next time,
We
we should have this one
celebrate
often.
winning World War I. We celebrate winning World War II. In the wars that we didn't win, like for example, the Korean and the Vietnam War, we pretend like it never happened. We pretend like we won, right? We don't acknowledge the fact that we caused undue harm to people through Agent Orange, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad that
So
we
we
did
called
that, though.
it was bad, yeah, but we
Yeah, we
don't ever
shouldn't
acknowledge
do
that it was
that.
bad. No, we shouldn't, but we don't acknowledge it.
Okay,
So,
we
like, unless
should.
as a culture, yeah, we should. But as a
Yeah.
as a culture, when we start recognizing and stop sensationalizing things like the death penalty and like the president himself putting on and making an executive order specifically about killing pedophiles, which I agree with, by the way, just putting that out there. But like the actual president is making executive orders about killing pedophiles, like giving them the death penalty immediately. Until this kind of culture leaves the United States altogether, we really can't put a moral compass on whether or not we can celebrate or not celebrate the
Wait,
death of people
yeah.
who we find to be inherently evil.
Caller, if I may summarize, tell me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is Wick is kind of bringing this up almost like this is like this unprecedented like thing versus this has kind of been what you see as the through line of not just American culture but just human culture in general, and that the slippery slope argument doesn't really apply here because everyone just does this anyway. Yeah?
Well, the slippery slope argument, I think, was definitely overused in the case of like Gavin Newsom, the kid Gavin Newsom thing.
Well, the
That's
slippery slope
completely
insofar as
like,
you start with a celebration that leads
yeah,
you to dehumanization and worse things versus what you're saying is like, no, we're already there. We've always been there. Yeah.
yeah, we have always been there, and in some individual cases, there are some people who don't even consider themselves human because of the acts they commit against others. So people who dehumanize other humans, they themselves do not get the respect of being human, right? Like a sociopath does not have human emotions. So would we as human beings granting them
Is it okay to
human
eat a
compassion?
sociopath? Can you
What?
kill and eat a sociopath? They don't have human emotions. They're not human, right? Can we kill and eat them? Is that okay?
We do. That's the thing. That's the whole
Do
basis.
we?
We kill sociopaths.
He
Yeah,
said and eat,
that's
but yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay. I mean,
Oh,
I've
eat?
had McDonald's before. I didn't know what was in the mystery meat. Maybe I have eaten psychopaths
Oh,
before.
I mean,
But
I don't
hold
know.
my issue with what you're saying, and then we're gonna let you go, and I know Soypill has to go, and I'm not ending the stream. I'll talk to a couple of you afterwards, right? But I'll let Soypill have an out. I think to your argument that just because something has happened a lot or our culture is steeped in it does not make it good, and it's not something we want to replicate. And I think even if we have a culture, right, that has a rich tradition that everybody does, I think it's still okay to point out ways that I think it's harmful both on a societal level and on an individual level. And my whole advocacy tonight is that if you find yourself celebrating the death of someone you consider a bad person, you should stop, you should think, and you should try to let that emotion go. I think it harms you to feel those things.
I mean, on a moral level, I can agree that you should not celebrate death just for celebrating death.
Beautiful.
But
Then you are on my side.
you can, however, celebrate the fact that an individual who caused harm to others is no longer with us. So you're not actually so you're kind of, using a loophole. You're celebrating the fact that they are no longer here to imbue harm on other people, right?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that
a chatter put it well is that the newspaper should have said, unfortunately, Hitler dies.
Well, you know what the newspaper didn't say is like, fuck yeah, Hitler's dead. It just, Hitler's dead.
in big caps with
well, it said-
exclamation
yeah.
points. Yeah, like it's
Hitler's
celebrating
dead.
it. It was celebrating it.
Did Trump not say shit, what's
don't
his
use
name?
Trump as a
Abu
basis for my
Bakr
morality.
al-Baghdadi died like a dog.
Yeah,
Do you think it was
but
good
he's
that he
not going
said
to say
that?
that Trump was good for saying that, to be fair.
Anyway, Alish.
No, I
thank
know
you
he's
for
not
calling
because
in.
I don't agree with him. I think
Okay.
I'm just using that as an example,
Okay.
playing devil's advocate. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you
for
very
calling
much
in,
for the
Alish.
call.
We'll see you later. Okay.
No problem. Have a good one.
I got one last thing to say to you, because a commenter brought this up, and I think this is really
Go
funny.
ahead.
I think maybe this is where we find our final common ground. What is worse, celebrating the death of a bad person, or taking the death of someone in your political movement and using it to spread your vitriolic propaganda, a la TPUSA?
That was worse.
Hell
Yes,
yeah!
what
High five
TPUSA
me,
did
high five me,
weaponize
big
the
dog.
death.
High five me, big dog. No, a little left. No, you can't look at the camera. Come on, Wick. No, that's his Hitler salute. There you go. Close enough. All right, cool. We agree on that, and I appreciate that we
Thank
can
you
come
for
to that
calling in.
agreement.
Where can people find you?
I'm the Soy Pill. I'm the Soy Pill on YouTube. I think my internet connection no longer is stable enough to stream on Twitch and Twitter at the same time, so it's just YouTube, which is fine because that's where all the cool people are. Check me out there. I do video essays. I celebrate. No, sometimes I celebrate death. It depends on who it is. But yeah, and go subscribe to Wick, guys. He's woefully undersubscribed to for some reason. Yeah, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I'll see you later, buddy.
All right, bye. All right, guys. I'm about to head out here.
That's fine.
Yo, Soypo, what's
Oh, hi,
up?
Soy.
Oh,
No.
Jesus.
Oh my
Hi.
God.
Oh, this is. Oh my
Yo.
God, Jesus. Guys, Skyer, I gotta end the stream. I didn't realize I'd hop back here when I left. Love you guys. I gotta end the stream. Bye. It just dropped me into the back room. Hold on, let me activate my camera. Say bye to you guys. Read this last super chat, and then I gotta skedaddle, grab some dinner, and then if you want more Soy stream, I'm going back on with UFA at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Why isn't this turning on? Activate. Come on. Oh, I might have to close Discord. So silly. Deactivate. OBS camera? Activate. There we go. Oh, wow. It's like super zoomed in. All right. Jesus Christ. All right, guys. Let's read this last super chat from Rizius. Hong Kong, $50. I don't know how much this is, but thank you. Can you ask Wick how he is balancing not cutting toxic people, family, and friends, and hold beliefs that are harmful to you, not cutting them out, but also saying we need to not hate? Sorry, I couldn't ask that when I was in the call with him. I can ask him afterwards. But does he have like a previous position of saying like it's okay to cut out family and friends? And now he's saying, but don't hate them. I think those things aren't incongruent. You can say it's okay to cut family off and remove these people from your life, but you shouldn't celebrate their death, if that makes sense. I think these aren't necessarily incongruent positions. Wick's channel is WhickTv. Just go on YouTube and do WhickTV. Anything else? I'm watching and Soypill noticed me. Miss Ruin? Yeah, I'm from this chat anyways. Oh, okay. You just the one who called in. Yeah, awesome. His death means nothing because it changed nothing. Oh, what have you been watching? The Soypill? Pickle Rick in the background? Yeah, it's ironic though because I hate him. Can you make a video where you do the political compass test so I can call you a communist? I could do it on stream, just not right now. Maybe a next news stream, especially because I'll probably do an Epstein news stream. I think my next video might be on Epstein actually. So, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. My viewership has been going up, and I'm not seeing the chats accelerate to the point where I can't respond to most of them, which is really nice. So thanks for joining, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the supers. Type 1 to the deep state. Type 1 to end the deep state. Oh, I should be better at that now. And if you want more, I'm going back on to debate on TikTok in an hour and a half. Otherwise, I might do a stream. There's a crazy story I want to tell you guys, or a crazy fun person you need to meet that I met at this TPUSA event. So I'm either doing a stream with her tomorrow or Friday, or we might have to push it. I don't know if she has a house. We'll see. But she's very fun. So yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you later, maybe in a couple hours. If not, a couple days.